Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It is the Optimists video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David.
This is our sixth discussion of Game of the Year. Can you believe that?
That is shocking and disturbing to me.
It's sort of frightening, yeah, because like...
Six?
Just six. I was shocked by this because our first episode, we talked about the most Podtimism-inducing games of 2019.
2019?
Of 2019. Our first episode was in 2020. It was like right at the beginning of 2020.
That is six. Whoa.
This is our six. It's freaky.
No. Wow. Okay. That's blowing my mind.
I feel like year math sometimes kind of takes me off guard where you forget to count the like 0th year.
Yeah, you don't count. I always forget to count 0.
Yes. Yeah. And then you're like, wait a second, what? Like it's been 6 years since then? Mm-hmm. No, that doesn't make any sense. Almost. But yeah, holy shit, 6-1.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
It being the sixth one or just my list in general?
Hey, everything. Tell me your headspace, baby.
Well, when you told me it was the sixth one, my headspace became existential crisis.
Right,
just briefly.
As it does, sure.
But that's something that I'm used to at this point, so we're moving on. We're good. We've
living. Got some defense mechanisms for the
I've been fortified at this point against the existential crisis.
Yeah.
But man, this list was hard for me this year. This list was hard for me this year. I feel like I have a lot of bangers even on my honorable mentions because I usually do a best game I played this year list.
Yeah. For anybody who's coming from the other network of TWG podcasts who you may be familiar with the phrase GOTOY, game of the other year. And the way that we've done this in the past and the way that we will continue to do it here is that I do games that I've played this year or like they came out this year. That's all that's on my GOTY list. But you do yours as Oopsel all GOTOYs, which is any game that you have played this year is in contention for your top 10.
I do not play enough new games to really feel like I can with confidence say like these were the best games of this past year. There's always just going to be blaring spots of omission for me if I do that. So I just do everything I played.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like it speaks more to your experience of the year. I don't think it's like necessarily any real difference there. Again, it's all arbitrary, so like who cares?
Ain't nobody trying to get like the Podtimism like emblem on their game because we gave it game of the year. It's fine. It's fine.
I would like to make that sticker though, like the one that they put on boxes and stuff.
I mean, I'm sure you would make a very awesome looking one. It would be a sunflower.
Oh man, that's a good idea. I'll come up with something. I'll cook something up in the old Photoshop.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like last year was a little bit harder to figure out for me. Not that this one was easy. I feel like there was much. Okay, so two things. One, there was a lot of variety, but there was also so many RPGs that it's like hard to narrow down. But
like different kinds of RPGs though.
Yes, but there are 3 that made it to my top list. They're all right in a row.
Sure.
And I would say they're varying shades of kind of similar ideas.
Gotcha. If you squint, they all look pretty similar.
A little. Specifically 2 of them that are in fact made by the same company. But
sure. Gotcha.
But yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there was outside of the RPGs, it's kind of varied in the shit that I've got here this year. Mm-hmm.
Did you include Erd Tree?
I didn't.
Neither did I. We already gave Elden Ring its flowers, I felt.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have like there was this discussion in the Game Awards about like does Erd Tree count because it's DLC or like an expansion? Mm-hmm. And like I feel like it's such a case by case basis with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like if something was so transformative to the base experience that it's like that's kind of a different thing, then maybe I don't see why that would be that big of an issue. I feel like if you're judging something based on quality, like it doesn't necessarily matter like is this DLC or not.
Sure.
Yeah,
I hear you.
But no, I didn't. I felt like there are so many games that I want to give their time to. That's like it is Elden Ring and it bops and it's really good, but it is also like that is the game that was my game of the year a couple of years ago when it came out. So like, what do you want from me? I just feel like there was other more interesting things going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure whenever that weird roguelike that they're building in the Elden Ring universe comes out.
Yeah. What is up with that?
I'm so confused about what that is. Like
you can play with 3 people or 1.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, you and your one other friend. No, you cannot.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was a very strange year. I feel like it was very varied in a lot of ways, in a way that I like. We talked about this last year, sort of towards the end of the year, that like it's a great year for games and sort of a bummer of a year to be working in video games because there were so many layoffs last year, and there were more layoffs this year than there were last year, and so like I feel like it remains sort of true that it's a bummer a lot of the state that the industry is in right now, and like we've seen this kind of stuff. I feel like in other places before, like film kind of comes to mind, where I think like in the 60s there was the big push for like indie films because the big blockbusters had just become so expensive that it was like we can't keep making films like this. And I don't wish for a huge collapse in games to happen. Like I don't want that, but I do hope that there's some kind of acknowledgement from studios who are investing like $1 billion into a looter shooter that they then shut down 3 weeks after because like nobody's playing it. That they're like Concord. Unfortunately, I'm talking about quite a few games this year.
That's true.
But Concord was the one that was coming up in my brain. Concord's bad game day. But I just hope there's a shift, that like there's some acknowledgement that like, Balatro came out this year and was not made by very many people. In fact, just one person. And I'm sure made a lot of money because of that. Not that that's the end goal, but like if that's what studios are looking to turn their ship towards, like it doesn't mean that you have to invest $1 billion into a, team-based like capture the point style looter shooter game or something. Yeah. So I don't know. I just want to acknowledge that like, yes, there's a lot of good games this year, and also not to ignore the human cost that a lot of this stuff comes with right now.
Absolutely.
Unionize is a great way to start, which there have been a lot of. There's been a lot of movement on that front this year.
Are you part of a union?
I'm not.
Podcasters Union.
Who's our boss?
The people?
Who do we enter into bargaining agreements with?
Hop onto the Discord. We'll do some bargaining.
You have to listen to podcasts this much per week.
There you go.
State-mandated podcasting listening. Anyway, you had texted me a new idea for Game of the Year stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Normally we will do GOTY. I will also do Games of the Other Year as sort of a separate list, and then some honorable mentions. But you had another idea.
Yeah, I just was going through all the games I played this year, and there were so many games on my honorable mention list that I wanted to give them, and even games that weren't on my honorable mention list that I wanted to mention. And I was like, okay, why don't I just think of like my favorite gaming moments from some of these games this year? And then that gives me even broader swath of games to bring forth and give them their flowers. So just anything like gaming related that, or in a game this year that was really kind of stand out to me, I will mention. It could just be like a moment in a game. It could be a mechanic in a specific game. Lots of different things. Yeah.
I found that compelling. So I also made a list of some.
Hell yeah.
Programming wise, when do you want to do those?
Great question. I have no idea. We could do them like sprinkled throughout. Maybe like we do 10, and then in between we do just like real quick a gaming moment, and then 9, and then rinse and repeat, something like that.
Sure. Let's try it. Let's see how it goes. Wow. I always get the jitters right before we start doing the actual list. Like you're
shaking.
No
you're like, oh my God, it's happening again.
Like it's no different. We're just talking to each other. It's not like we have an audience like right here just like staring at us or something, but I'm always like, oh man, here it comes. Here's the whole thing. Well, should we start?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get in these guts.
Let's
don't know why I made it so crass, but that's how I felt apparently.
Let's start with number 10, shall we?
Start with number 10. Let's start with number 7. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
let's start with number 10.
Start with number 5 and then work forward and backwards at the same time.
Whoa. Yeah, we both started number 5. One of us goes backwards and one of us goes forward.
And then we like swap. We like Pac-Man. Once I get to 10 and you
this
get to 1.
This Game of the Year list brought to you by Christopher Nolan.
It's going to be, there's going to be some cut of the podcast that makes a lot of sense, but it's not going to be this one.
Fan cut of the cast.
Do you want to start or should I?
Who started last year?
Chase's number 10 was the first one. So let's start with
first. Whoa.
See, isn't it weirdly intimidating?
It is.
There a little bit of like, oh boy.
It is. It's like, oh, I hope people are okay with my number 10.
I hope they're okay with this arbitrary collection of games I like.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. What do you got?
I'm ready. Number 10. Butterfly Soup.
Yeah.
This game rocked. I loved this game. It was genuinely one of the most affective stories I have played or experienced in a game, I should say. And also one of the more like relatable stories I have played in a game. It's just so steeped in like millennial coded words and phrases and experiences that it's instantly relatable for, I think, a lot of folks. And not to mention that it just tells a beautiful coming of age story for these four girls as they just navigate the world as themselves and learning what and who they are, right? So great story, great dialogue, or not dialogue, but writing, I should say. There isn't any voice acting. And some genuinely like just funny fucking moments too.
Yeah.
This was one of my favorite gaming moments of the year was when they played the Bad Titanic flute song.
Yes.
When two of the girls become fast friends and then do like a double like flying eagle essentially, which was so good, so unexpected, but such a nice and subtle way of really characterizing the story, putting you in a place and a mood, and just making it not just like so heavy, but fun and funny, and just making it really feel like these people are friends and they are going through these intense situations together, and just like giving you the full breadth of friendship and discovery. Really great game.
This is also on my GOTOY list, my games of the other year list, because I totally agree. It was kind of remarkable. Like I wasn't expecting it to be this good, frankly.
Same. Came out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, Butterfly Soup, visual novel, let's go, let's give it a shot. And it just blew my socks off.
Yeah, me too. It's hard for me to exactly pinpoint why, but I think it is like something about the writing and the experience it speaks to. Obviously, like I'm not a teen girl grappling with being gay. Yeah. You know, like that's not a thing that I'm currently or have experienced. But I think just it's very good writing, right? Like it's all really earnest and like genuine and very sweet at times too.
Super sweet.
In a way that like I just don't experience in a lot of stuff. And I think that it may be a lack of exposure to visual novels, but I'm also like learning that I do enjoy the kind of like slice of life style, like manga anime shit. And so like it may just be a genre that I am unfamiliar with. And I'm like, hey, what is this? What's going on in here? I feel like I'm much more used to the stakes of a story being so high that like it just being kind of an interpersonal drama is very refreshing in a way. Yeah. And I think we may have just gotten lucky that we landed on one that is actually quite well done and very much opened my eyes to like, I think I like this. I think I like this kind of story, or at least like, you know, the visual style slice of life thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And while it is like lower stakes, I feel like something that it does well is that it really sucks you into this world so thoroughly that even though this is not like you're trying to save the world or anything, but it feels like the stakes are high when they are asking these very important questions about who they are, who they want to be, how other people are going to see them. Because when you are in high school, these kind of are huge feeling situations and things to decide.
Your identity in high school feels like the stakes of killing God in Final Fantasy.
Absolutely. It's like if depending on what I choose here, really it's gonna make or break me. I could just like, you know, like everything is just blown out of proportion because it's just your whole world is so small when you're in high school, right? But and I think that is they do that really well in this game to give you that insight into these characters, but at the same time, as an adult, you're like, oh, this is they're like blowing a lot of this out of proportion sometimes, but it's still just it makes it endearing because it reminds you of when you were in high school and everything like that was just so intense and you felt everything so passionately and fervently.
I think it's easy as an adult to forget that like it's small in comparison, right? Like a high schooler's life is small in comparison to the lives that we live as adults, but like I think it's usually one step too far to also say therefore it is insignificant or unimportant or like doesn't demand as much care as we adults give our lives. And so like I appreciate whenever a certain piece of media is like this is the most important thing in their lives and like it's worth depicting and talking about.
Absolutely. Not to say that coming out as gay as a person of color in like the aughts is not a big deal at all, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Just that, like, you know, the interpersonal dramas of like, do I like this person, or does this friend get along with that friend? You know, like that stuff is it's real for people at that moment. And
it's real. It's the biggest thing that matters to them in the world, right?
Yeah, and like that's fine, right? Like that's good.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to care about like your social circle being the most important thing in your life for a little while.
Absolutely,
because you're like learning how to be and like how to talk to people and what you like or don't like or anything like that.
It's just learning who you are.
Yeah,
it's great.
Just cool.
Great game.
Butterfly soup. Yeah. Can I talk to you about my number 10, David?
Please. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is Pacific Drive, David.
Ooh, I want to play this one.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah,
obviously, because it's the number 10 best game I've played this year. It's really strange. It's a very strange video game as far as like the stuff that's going on in it. I talked about this really early on in the year. I feel like this was a pretty early release. For anybody who like doesn't remember or maybe like wasn't listening to the show at the moment, like Pacific Drive is kind of a like survival game in a way, and also a sort of adventure game. It's like it's as if Subnautica took place in a old sedan that is going through like warp tubes and shit.
Station wagon, please.
Yes, true. And I just found it really good. I found the loop really compelling. The actual like style of it felt very reminiscent of Half-Life in a way that like I feel like it's kind of hard to capture in a way. This like science kind of gone wrong. Like there's all these experiments going on and things are happening and they kind of got out of control, and like that is now the world that you're existing in. It's also got some like very good like personal drama going on between the characters as well, which I really appreciate. Like usually these kinds of games just don't have that at all. I think Subnautica Below Zero was experimenting a little bit more with that, but typically in survival games, it's like you just get dumped into the waste and then it's like figure it out. But I appreciated that they went like a little bit more of an extra mile with this stuff, which was just it. Yeah, I found it really, really fun. One of my gaming moments of the year, David, was the first time in this game that you have to drive into one of these like warp columns of light that like takes you back to your base. Essentially, the loop of the game is that you'll drive out and go to all these different areas, and to get back to where your home base is, you have to like set off this like mechanism that opens up like a warp gate somewhere on the map, and then you have to drive there as this like ring is closing around you, sort of like Fortnite or any of the like battle royale games. And it was thrilling. Like I'm not sure that I ever really got caught by that ring, but just like the sound design at that moment, the music, how it swells, and like how the world starts to kind of react to everything. It gets very windy and stormy and shit like that. It's very good. And I think like I was the first time I did it, not really expecting that like, oh shit, this is what happens and I need to go very quickly, and like kept crashing the car, and like the car flipped a couple times, and like I lost some stuff. And I was like, I need to get out of here. And like the way that it works is you just drive straight into this column of light. It's not like a button you have to press. And so I'm just like gassing
hauling
it through this
ass
field.
into this column of light. That's cool.
It was very cool. And I feel like the game is just filled with that kind of like emergent moments in a way that I really appreciate. I think it's really good. I really enjoy the survival genre, but I will say I like the kind of survival games that end up being, I think, the best ones. Like my tolerance for like okay farming sims is really high. I will definitely play kind of a bad farming sim or something. Yeah. Because I'm just like, I like this. Like it's fun for me. But like for survival games, it kind of takes like the best ones for me to be like, I really do end up enjoying this. And even then, sometimes, you know, I don't vibe with it. Like Valheim never hooked me in a way that I know it did for a lot of other people. Yeah. I know that's regarded as one of the better survival games. So like just sometimes it doesn't work. And I think Pacific Drive just has all the stuff that I want in it. Plus coming back to the base and just like tweaking your car is so much fun of like, oh shit, I have enough resources now to like give my tires more tread so that I get more like traction and shit like that. Or
Gearhead Chase over here.
yeah, big car guy now. But yeah, I just found it really, really fun. And I think I should beat it. I didn't beat it. And I'm like, I should probably do that.
Get back into it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Pacific Drive. Thought it was really good.
Hell yeah. Love that.
Yeah. We already both talked about one of our best gaming moments. So should we just go to number 9?
I'm gonna do one real quick.
Yeah. Tell me about a gaming moment. Because
I want to do one in between that's not on any of the games on my list.
Okay.
It is from a game that I was probably a little harsh with during this past year, and I've softened on it a bit looking back on it in retrospect. Yeah. But it's Horizon Forbidden West. Flying through Yosemite on the back of a robo pterodactyl was fucking cool. That was so good. Yeah. Like, honestly, all of the gripes I had with that game are almost wiped out by how good like the flying mechanics are. And I just wish that they gave it to you a little bit earlier in the game, because it's like a late game unlock to just make it really easy to get around. But man, does it just feel so right to just fly to the top of Half Dome, get off your bird, hang out for a bit, and then call it back down and just keep on trucking. Maybe go to Vegas. Who knows? visit the Golden Gate Bridge. But it's a very satisfying and well done mechanic in that game.
Yeah, there are more problems with that game, I think, than there were with the previous one. But like, something I cannot levy against the game is that it is awe-inspiring.
It is gorgeous,
so beautiful.
It is
in a
beautiful,
way that like very few games are.
Yeah,
and I don't always want that to be the bar, because like I think like visual fidelity is not always the thing I want games to be reaching for. But Horizon does it very well, and like it's not always just like, damn, this looks good. It's like, this is framed well, or like this cutscene has like Aloy running across this like canyon and she's so small in the like scale of the shot, and like it looks very cool. Or just the way that they've like changed the geography here a little bit to kind of like make it look like, whoa, this feels really big, despite the fact like I bet that there's a couple of tricks that they're doing to make it look much larger than like the physical game world is.
Yeah,
all that stuff is just really cool. I feel like they really nailed like how to build a cool looking space.
Yeah, the world is awe-inspiring, like you said. It is gorgeous. It is so detailed. It's pretty incredible. And exploring it on a pterodactyl back, robodactyl back is exceptional.
Yeah, I agree. What's your number 9, David?
My number 9, Chase, it's funny coming after Butterfly Sloop, the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Cool, yeah. I didn't realize that you didn't play this last year.
I did not. This was this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
It really showed me what a remake can be. Yeah. It is like the ideal version of a remake in that it just really takes the old game, turns it into something new and fresh that is recognizable but unrecognizable at the same time. Yeah. You know, some of those levels and some of those areas I knew like the back of my hand. Others I'm like, I don't remember this at all. But I feel like if I played it back like on the GameCube or PS2 version again, I would recognize where I was. But they just made it look so much better and different that it really was like a whole new game, which was incredible. And then also just how well they fixed Ashley's character from the first game. And
not even changed, fixed.
The character needed fixing, making her actually have agency and being like a member of a team as opposed to just a thing to escort around.
Yeah, she's a participant in the video game.
She is a participant. Yes, absolutely. That was really good. All the extra side content with Ada, the secret ways, great. Just adding more depth to the story. Yeah. All the mercenary stuff. It was just exceptional from beginning to end. You know, probably doesn't rank as high on my list just because the story doesn't like say much, but damn, is it a fun story though. And just gorgeous to look at. That Capcom engine just keeps giving. And the gunplay was excellent. Really fun game. Just an immaculate game mechanic and just game experience through and through. Yeah, exceptional, I would say. Very good game.
Yeah, it's video games. I feel like the Resident Evil 4 is just like, that's video games.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, it's not pushing the genre forward. Maybe it's pushing the remake genre forward, I guess. but it's just a damn well-made game.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it as well last year for pretty much the same reasons of like, it's strange how much they retain the feeling that like, I am playing Resident Evil 4 for sure. But there's so much that's changed underneath the hood. Just the sheer addition of like the knife deflect move, the parry essentially.
So good.
Like, it's so important. And like, I feel like going back to 4, I would feel that difference pretty dramatically, despite the fact that again, they make it feel like I am playing Resident Evil 4. Like, yes, this is a similar game. It's crazy. It's really good. And again, just one of those games that like the moment I finish it, I'm like, all right, let's roll it back. Let's do that one more time.
Yeah. It just feels like they took Resident Evil 4 and like put it in a time machine or something. And like, this is just the new version of it. It's here. It's like playing through it the first time. It's great.
Yeah. I'm always like, there's a piece of me that is reluctant to endorse like any remake, right? Just because I don't want it to be like, I would love for there still to be creativity in the industry. And like, I think saying it out loud like that, I'm always like, okay, well, there's always going to be somebody making some weird game, you know, like not everybody can be working on the remake game, but when you play a good one, you know it, you know, like when you're like, this was done with care and they really wanted to do this. And we've said this before, but like the fact that you can get the original version of Resident Evil 4 on like everything, I think speaks to the fact that they're not just like trying to like super cash in on it. They're like, you can still play the other one. Like it's still there. It's not like they've removed your only option to play the original. It's just like, yeah, but we wanted to like do this one some more, you know?
Yeah.
And I think especially given the fact that they are like in this string of remaking their other games in like pretty transformative ways. Like you said, I think that this is the one where it's like, this is probably the closest a remake in their entries of remakes has come to being like close to the old one, you know, like the remake of Resident Evil 2 is like, that's a very different game than the original was. Whereas this one's like, it's not too far, right? Like the over the shoulder stuff is still there and everything. And like the mechanics are still there, but I think it totally makes sense for them to be like, yeah, let's just keep going with this. Let's make this one as well. As I've said a million times, I'm so interested in where they go from here. Like this is the moment where they have so much room to do whatever. And I feel like any direction could be so cursed or it could be amazing. And I don't know which one they're going to do.
They fixed Ashley.
But like, man, they need to fix so much about 5 if they do 5. 5 would be very strange. I like that one's the actual gameplay of it is like, I think they went a little bit too far on the action, but I don't know. Do you invest time in remaking 5 and 6? I don't know.
6, and again, there's something there with 6.
There's something there with 6, but I think like, why not just start reinvesting in doing like a new game? Or like probably the move that they will do is either put out a remake of 1 or Code Veronica in this style of game. If I was a betting man, I think I would say Code Veronica first.
Sure.
But like also where do you go with the newer entries? Like the Ethan Winters arc seems to be largely done. And so like, is it now time for daughter Winters to take the mantle?
Probably.
But that's also a very different kind of game now.
Very
you know,
different.
like with the stuff that she's got going on.
Mold powers.
Got them stanky powers. So like, where do you go from there? I don't know, but I'm very interested to see. I think I trust Capcom right now. They're kind of on a heater. I feel like Capcom's kind of
5 years. They've been putting out hits. I haven't really
slamming
seen
and
them
jamming.
Really miss for a bit. Honestly. And they were kind of a joke for a bit, and like they were, you know, they were not having a good run
in kind of the 2010 through like 2016, 17 era. It was just like, what are we doing here? What's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, dude! You saw that they announced a new Onimusha game?
I did. Yeah. You stoked on that?
Come on, yes, that is gonna be so cool.
I'm stoked on that one. I'm stoked on the new Shadow of the Colossus creator game.
Oh my god, what is going on?
I have no idea.
I have no clue.
That is the most teased I have felt by a trailer in a very long time. Teased and intrigued.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the bigger names I would say to start attaching to a trailer of like, hey, the person who like made
Eco and Shadow of the Colossus
of video games. Yeah,
one of the pillars of video games.
That's a crazy thing to be like, we're making another one, which I will say, like, I don't want to get my hopes up completely because like, I feel like there's so many strings of game designers in their careers that are like, I made this best thing ever. And then their new game is like kind of a fart, you know, like it's not that tight, but I have a lot of faith in those people. So like, I would love to see what they make.
Same.
It would be great.
Stoked.
Me too. I'm also stoked. Let's see.
What's your number 9, Chase?
My number 9, David. It's a game called Mouthwashing.
Ooh. I want to play this one too. There's so many games I just need to play.
This will show up on your good list next year.
Probably, yeah.
This is a recent indie horror game that came out, and I found it pretty remarkable in a lot of ways. I won't go through the whole thing again just because I feel like it was fairly recently that we talked about it. I also talked about it quite a bit with AJ over on .zip, if you want more of a deeper dive about that.
Cool.
And yeah, just to kind of sum up a lot of the thoughts there, it is a game that the part of the style is the substance, just the way that you're being told the story is very interesting and definitely takes you on a journey that I think makes you question your a little bit of your agency as a player, but more just your role as a player, which I think is very cool. And you get to know the characters on this ship very well. There's only 5 of them, so it's not a huge cast of people to memorize, but you get really, really in depth with their stories. And one of the first things that pops up on the screen, in the intro, it's not the first thing, but it's early on, is this phrase, "I hope this hurts." And AJ and I kicked around who is saying this, right? Because it's not clear. And I think the conclusion that both of us came to was we think that that's probably the developer saying "I hope this hurts." And the conclusion that we came to at the end was this hurts and good,
it hurts in a good way. It's a good hurt.
It is. I think so. Yeah, it is. It is a painful experience. And I think you should, if you're going to check this out, absolutely check some of the content warnings on it, because there's absolutely some heavy shit in here that if you're not up for it will not hurt good.
It'll be
a
bad hurt.
It would be a bad hurt. And I think it is a challenging game in a way that I'm not saying as a flexing contest of I'm a big strong boy and I can play these tough guy games. But
I didn't get hurt at all playing this game.
That's the thing, is I did. It was a painful experience, and it's the cosmic opposite of a happy ending story that makes you teary-eyed. It's this just sucks, and but in parentheses good.
This sucks, and now it's over. Thank God.
In a way, there's some relief at the end of it, but I think that just the experience of it is really singular and unique. And yeah, I just found it really good. Again, I suspect that this one will not be everyone's cup of tea. That you're either gonna like it or hate it. There's not gonna be a lot of people that are
Sure.
So yeah, I found it really, really good. And I also am a known indie horror enjoyer, and so I always appreciate when there's one of these games that's taking that aesthetic and trying different shit with it. I would say this is a little bit more high fidelity than the kind of typical PS1 era kind of horror stuff. It's a little bit more hi-fi than that.
Sure.
But yeah, the graphics are pretty simplistic, all things considered, but still really convey the characters and what they're going through and everything, but still has that sort of grotesque nature of trying to depict a character with only so many polygons, and that in itself is a little bit alarming to look at. Yeah. And so I really love all that stuff. It's good. It's a very good game. So yeah, if you have the willpower or just the desire, I think it's pretty good, but don't hurt yourself to do it, I will say. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Cool.
David.
Yeah, the game seems weird. I want to play it.
It is. It's a very strange game, but yeah, I liked it.
Cool.
I think it'd be worth a play.
Yeah.
Can I hit you with a gaming moment?
Please,
hit me. That I liked a lot. It's Egon talking absolutely diabolical shit to Bale the Dragon. When you go to fight Bale the Dragon in Erdtree, just
Bale,
my man,
you piece of shit! Fucking
shit, man!
Hereby vow, you will rue this day. Solid of scale you might be, foul dragon, but I will riddle with holes your rotten hide with a hail of harpoons, with every last drop of my being.
Calm down here so I can kick your ass. It's so good. And it's pretty rare that a NPC gets me that hyped up in a FromSoft game, but realizing that A, he was there at all, and that B, he's my man is running his mouth in this fight, was such a delight.
All his energy is going to his mouth when you first find him. You just hear him screaming off in the distance. You're like, who is just
what is happening
howling over there? And then you see him just, boo! So good. So
I will
good.
be your undoing. Man, yeah. What a delight.
It is a real moment of the year.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you have one?
I do. It is the first time you are swapping Gravity and Gravity Rush.
Yeah.
That one got me going, and you just see her like, the wind just flowing through her clothes, and then she starts to like move around in a weird way. It's just like trying to find her balance. That's just a very fun mechanic. I really enjoyed the gravity control in Gravity Rush, and also in Wendy Every Which Way.
Oh yeah,
there
true.
were two
Similar
gravity bending ladies in our gaming lives this year, and that game was surprisingly fun too. And I really enjoyed that mechanic of, once again, changing gravity.
Yeah,
you could say that these ladies are defying gravity, Chase. I'm trying to be topical. That was it. You nailed the high note.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Elphaba really knocked me out of that one.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't see the movie. I saw the musical not that long ago, though.
Yeah, I've seen the musical too. It's good musical.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Good show.
I love the Gravity Rush thing because I feel like the first time you start to notice like how it's working, it immediately changes your relationship to the world around you. You're
exactly.
like, I can go anywhere.
I control everything in this world.
Yeah,
now.
There's no limit to where I can and cannot go.
Exactly. It's very freeing, but at the same time, it's not like you're just flying. You really have to think about how you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool. I agree. Gravity Rush was a very fun time. We need to play 2 at some point.
Absolutely. I'm down. My number 8 is Resident Evil Village.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if this was going to show up.
Yeah, I put it one spot ahead of 4 just because it's doing a little bit more different than 4 is, and I feel like there is a tender heart to this story that I enjoyed in comparison to other Resident Evil games. Yeah. Especially with the addition of the DLC where you play as his daughter. I thought it was tender. Was it the most like amazing story ever? No, but it was sweet, and as a change for a Resident Evil game where it has, like I said, a tender heart at the center of it all. Yeah. Father trying to do best for his family, his daughter. I thought that was really good. I thought that the gunplay in the first person mode was very good. I did not expect it to feel still harrowing and scary while it was still in first person, because I'm so used to just like the power of fantasy COD shooters, right? But they really played it well. They made you feel like a middle-aged man who was just getting hacked to pieces slowly through this game, and you kind of moved as such for most of it. You know, and when you did get to play as Chris at the end, you're like, okay, now this is Call of Duty. Yeah, this is my military boy right now. Really just makes Ethan so much more characterized as a dude just trying his best, fighting through these hordes of monstrosities to find his daughter. I thought the different areas of the game were a great way of giving so many different types of horror, and just really being able to tap into what is best in any of those types of genres or spaces to explore something that is scary, because you can really just do all killer, no filler at that point. And man, the house was truly frightening.
So scary.
The baby was truly, truly frightening. That is a gaming moment of this year, as just finding that monstrosity in the hallway, and then also just being haunted by my wife's mannequin in the basement the whole time, and just turning around and she's there, and there's more of them too. That was really good. But yeah, just a very well made game. I really like what it did for the series, these 2 Ethan Winters games, and I'm curious to see if there's going to be like, if there are 2 different lines of Resident Evil games, like the Winters line where they're still doing this kind of first person-y action stuff, although they did go back to third person for the DLC with his daughter, versus more like action shootery Resident Evil 4 remake sort of versions. And you know, they could do both. They could have it all. But yeah, great game. Really enjoyed it.
I also liked this one quite a bit. I think it was pretty high on the list when I played it a couple of years ago. Yeah. Regardless, I agree. I liked it quite a bit. It's a good Gideo game.
May 7th, 2021.
Wow.
21. Yeah. Good Gideo game. Good Bonky Boy. Good
Bonky Boy.
Good Bonky Boy. Chase, what is your number 8 game?
My number 8, David, is a game called Shogun Showdown.
Ooh.
talked about this in the pod briefly. It's not something that came up like really often, but I sure did play so much of this game.
Nice.
It is this like, I don't know if card battler is the right word for it. I don't feel like it is, but you are sort of doing a similar kind of drafting in this game of like picking weapons and kind of like actions in a way rather than cards that will, do certain attacks or move you in certain ways. And game is set up on this essentially like 2D plane where you are either moving forward or backwards or turning around or anything like that. And all those cost you certain amounts of action points essentially, or it's all just one and everybody kind of moves at the same time. All the enemies like will tell you exactly what they're doing far before they do it. And so it turns into this like kind of thoughtful drafting and almost into the breach kind of game where you're constantly trying to think about like, how can I use what everybody else is doing against them? Because it's very frequent that you can like you'll be in front of somebody and they're like they've cornered you in between two enemies and you can do some attack to like swap yourself with the person in front of you and then they end up attacking each other, right? Like just by your moving around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
God, I just flew through this game, like constantly playing it. And it was one of the ones where it's like, okay, I've unlocked all the characters and how different they play. All right, let's start doing the like reruns where the difficulty is a little bit higher and they have higher stakes and stuff like that, and just did that for a couple of weeks, like absolutely inhaled this game.
Hell yeah.
I think it's very, very fun, and it takes like, I would say like a little while to kind of get it. I feel like you understand the basics of it very quickly, but I was definitely taking damage pretty frequently where I was like, oh God, I didn't even like look at that guy way over there who was gonna attack me or something. Or, I have to turn around to attack someone, but my brain didn't remember that like that cost an action point and I'm gonna get hit if I just turn around right now. So like that happened, but once you kind of lock in and start seeing the code behind the matrix, like it's so satisfying because like oftentimes there are runs where like you just don't get hit because you're like, if you can think about it enough, you just like don't put yourself in bad situations, then like you just simply don't have to take damage.
Yeah.
Which is cool, especially at higher difficulties when you have like 3 health or something like that. Like just no wiggle room. So yeah, I found it really, really good. And I don't think this is like an unpopular game by any measure, but I don't feel like it's talked about very much. And I think it should be because it has the same sort of stuff that I think makes a really good version of this game. It's got a lot of reviews on Steam that are all overwhelmingly positive. So like, I don't think I can say that this is a small time game by any measure. But yeah, I found it really, really good. I think it's really fun and I will probably continue to play it. God, this is one that like, if they put out DLC, I'm there on day one.
Day one DLC, let's get it.
Yeah. Sort of a similar effect that like when I saw that they were making a Slay the Spire 2, I'm like, how are you going to do this?
Yeah. How do you advance what you did with this game?
Yeah. We wrote Hamlet 2. Come and get it.
Come and get
excuse me.
Are you ready for it though?
God, I have no idea. Like, I feel like putting out Slay the Spire 2 is such a tall order because the genre has like so changed since Slay the Spire 1 came out, and largely because of Slay the Spire.
Yeah.
Like, it's a totally different landscape than when it came out. And so like, listen, they could just come back and put out more Slay the Spire. Like, I think that would be a totally understandable and satisfying experience. But like I think to go back and look at like, what does this genre do and can we push it even farther is a much more interesting question, and one that I hope that they're willing to grapple with a little bit. But like, that is such a tall order. Again, like that's so much. It reminds me of like when they were putting out Spelunky 2, and it's like Spelunky 1 was such a like shift in how like indie games and just games work in general that it's like, how do you do that? Which people liked Spelunky 2. That is one of my unfortunate opinions, is that I don't like Spelunky very much.
Like, you think it's not a good game, or you just don't like it personally?
It's just a taste thing. I see how good it is and I wish I could like it, but I don't.
Gotcha.
And so like, it's just my unfortunate feeling about it. I wish I did like it. But yeah, the thing that people describe about 2 is that like, hey, yeah, it's like more and also still very good. So yeah, that is Shogun Showdown, David.
Hell yeah.
Can I hit you with a gaming moment, David?
Please.
It is staying out too late in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, spooky things happen, right?
Very spooky. It's very dangerous outside at nighttime in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a very important part of the game for you to be like, how dangerous? Like, show me. Is it that bad? And then
how bad
for you
is
to
it
just
going
get
to be
summarily kicked in your whole ass by like an ogre who comes out of the dark. You're like, okay, the stakes are appropriately set for how badly I need to be sprinting when the sun starts going
They
down.
are not fucking around. Cool. Got it. Great.
No. Dragon's Dogma 2 was just shy of making my top 10. And that was another taste thing for me of like, it at a certain point, the world kind of beat me down in a way. And
like
I know
that's
that's
a
kind of
depressing world, or
no, it's hard. It's a very challenging video game.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of the point. It wants you to learn lessons. And I think honestly, it connects to Spelunky in a way of like, Spelunky wants you to learn in your human brain, like, don't do this one thing. Learn the lesson of how to get around this trap, you know?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that's much easier for me to deal with in like a Souls-like or something like that, where it's like just learn the pattern of the enemy. But for whatever reason, when it comes to like a world and having to learn the lesson of a world, sometimes my brain is just like, I don't want to, dude. I don't want to do it. You know, like
I get it. You're tired brain.
Yeah. In a way that just like not many other games do for me. And so like, I think for the same reason that people really love it, I liked it. And there were, I think, a lot of things that I respected about it. But at a certain point, I was just like, this is kicking my ass too much, you know? So yeah, that's my feeling about Dragon's Dogma 2. But it is still a very fun game. It's something that I like to play.
Yeah, I want to try this one. I'm a sucker for anything fantasy. I think I would eat this up.
I think so too. It's very like, I was about to say grounded. Like there's like griffins and dragons and shit. It's not like it is a realistic world, but there is a tangibility to it that I think you might really enjoy.
Yeah, like a danger to it.
Yes, yeah. Like you again, your human brain is like, I don't want to go outside at nighttime. It's bad out there, man. I've learned that lesson firsthand.
Yeah, don't go out at night.
No,
good thing to know.
Do you have a gaming moment you would like to share with the class, or do you want to move on to your number 7?
How many gaming moments do you have?
I have 10. I've done 3. I'm probably just going to do one at the end of every bit.
I'll do one too. I have plenty.
All right.
My another good gaming moment for me this year was the ending for Home Safety Hotline.
Oh yeah, true.
That
was
game
a really
was
fun ending.
Bizarre. Yeah. That game was so bizarre, but such a memorable experience. And then when it starts becoming like this weird, like cult ritual thing. Sorry for spoilers for Home Safety Hotline. Apologies.
Yeah.
And you see your boss, who has just been like Miss Business this whole time, start having like a flower crown and face paint, and she's saying all these very strange things. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? There's a Hobbs in my office. What is happening? A very original game, and kept me guessing the whole time. I had no idea what was going to happen at any given moment, and the ending was just kind of like the icing on that weird cake that was Home Safety Hotline.
Yeah, they really did not pull their punch with the strange shit towards the end of that one.
No,
I liked.
They went. That was cool. They leaned all the way into it, all the way.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's good.
I like that one too.
Very fun game.
What is your number 7, David?
My number 7, Chase, is Lies of P.
Oh my God. Wow, here it is.
Are you excited about that one?
I think so. I like it when people like Lies of P, because so did I. I had so many feelings about it, David.
You sure did. It spawned a meme. It was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. Tell me your feelings about it.
I really loved this game. I loved what it represented, which was kind of the democratization of the Souls genre. It is the code has been cracked. The formula is now outside of the control of Miyazaki, and other people can access it and create games that feel like a Soulsborne Sekiro game, but still feel, to me, unique and different and interesting and engaging in how they blend those different elements from those games to create something that does feel good and new. And I think this game rocked at that. It really did create a engrossing mechanical experience. It had an awesome world. It runs better than any FromSoft game to date, that's for sure. It looks amazing. The frame rate is buttery smooth. And I loved the kind of steampunk fucked up Pinocchio setting of it all. And I'm excited to see what they do with what was teased at the end of the game, which is like an expanded, like gritty fairy tale universe, like Brothers Grimm sort of shit. I'm very excited to see what this developer does next, and if they can keep up with the quality that they had with Lies of P, because I really rank it quite highly as far as polish goes. It was an engrossing and engaging and fun experience from beginning to end, and I want more of it. I want more the Lies of P, Chase.
I also love the ending where they're like, we can do this with anything, you know, like it doesn't have to be Pinocchio.
And you're just like, you're right, you could do this with anything.
You could, in a way that doesn't feel like, oh god, here comes another multiverse. It's like, no, that's fun. It's like, I think it's kind of cute, but I enjoy what they're doing with it.
We gotta get Shrek in there.
You gotta get Shrek in there. Why not get Shrek in there?
It's a fairy tale.
When is Shrek public access? Like when is he free use?
I don't know. DreamWorks has him locked down probably, for a century, probably. Mike Myers is in their dungeon just recording Shrek lines.
Donkey, please let me out.
I'm hungry. I want to see my family, Donkey. That was my Mike Myers impersonation.
What does the sun look like? I agree with what you said. I like the P.
You like the P?
I like the Lies of P. I was conflicted.
I get it. I understand.
Misusing my influence.
I was like, are you about to drop a Kendrick verse right now?
Yeah.
It all comes back to Kenny.
It does. Man, good new album. I really love that new Kendrick album.
Yeah, Gen X is really the Lies of P of Kendrick albums, you know.
My number 7, David, is number 7 is UFO 50, David.
Ooh, nice.
It's kind of cheating because there are 50 games and a lot of them are very, very good video games.
If you had to put one of these games up as like, this is the one that I am having be the champion for UFO 50 for the number 7 spot this year, which one would you choose?
Oh my God. That's really tough.
This is Trial by Combat against Lies of P. I have Pinocchio himself. With a big old sword. Who is going to fight him?
It's so tough because I feel like there's a lot of different kinds of games in there. Some of them are like, I just could play this game a lot. Like a similar idea with like Pong or something where it's like, this is so simple, but still like, God, I could play a lot of this.
Yeah.
Also at the same time, there are like RPGs in there, you know, like Grimstone is like, that's an RPG in UFO 50. Mm-hmm. And so like, I could play a lot of that and it would be very good. Elphazar's hat's pretty good. That's a really good one.
Elf, the good time hat.
Bushido Ball is also another one where it's like Windjammers almost of like I could just play the shit out of this. I think, and this is partially because I think it's a little bit more of a unique opinion. I love Bug Hunter. I fucking am crazy about Bug Hunter. It's essentially a tactical like strategy game. And I fully stopped searching through the games once I got to Bug Hunter and was just like, I'm just going to play this for a while. This is the thing I'm going to dive into.
Oh, is this the one that's like Into the Breach?
It's a little Into the Breachy. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's close.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just like there's so much in this game. And like, you know, I have not beaten every single one of these, but it was hard to put it down when I was playing it. And again, I think that the flex that this game is pretty remarkable of just like, you think we couldn't make like one of these, we made fucking 50 of them.
Yeah.
It's like, that is outrageous.
That is.
It's really impressive. And I think I'm a person who enjoys engaging with like meta commentary on anything like this. Mm-hmm. And I love the sort of like background story of this like fake company that they like built and like unearthed these video games, like is the lore, right? Mm-hmm. I just think all that's very fun and interesting. And also like you get to know like who the people are in a way too, who are making this game and like why they're making these kinds of games and shit like that. And I think it puts a focus on the developer in a way that like I was not expecting to be there. Mm-hmm. One of my games of the other year that I'll just bring up now because it's kind of related is the making of Karateka, which played for the first time this year.
Yeah.
It came out last year, but I played it this year.
Yeah.
And similar sort of idea with the Karateka. Oh my God, what's his name? Jordan Mechner. A similar sort of story with Jordan Mechner and his experience making Karateka and like a lot of other games as well, where so much of that game was playing like, here's the shitty first version of this game that I made, and here is the beta version that I made, and here's the one that I sent to the publisher and shit like that. And I found that so cool to play through. I'm sure it would have landed higher on my list had I played it last year, but like in a similar way, I really appreciate the UFO 50 approach, where not only is it the games, but it's also like, why are these people making these things, and why did it come out like this, or why did they make these decisions and shit like that, which it's just so cool. I really appreciate that. And I think they're, pulling one layer back, there is more story going on there about like what game development does and like how to exist in game development and like how to survive in it and shit like that. Because a lot of the people who are making these games in UFO 50, like the actual real people, they weren't alive making games. I think they were alive, but just like not actually making games at the time because they were quite young, but they are people who have existed in the games industry for a long time. And so they know that experience very well. Yeah. And so it's very interesting to have this sort of like almost like MASH relationship with making games from that era. Like MASH is not about the Korean War, it's about Vietnam, right?
Yes.
Despite the fact, the setting is different. And in a similar way, I think that there's commentary about modern game development practices because they're talking about what it was like to make a game at this era. And, I think a lot of that is not necessarily surprising information about like, we're under the kind of pressure of our publisher or, the whims of kind of the public and shit like that. And, that's not necessarily shocking information, but it is cool to see it depicted in such a real and honest way. So yeah, UFO 50. There's 50 good video games in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let me hit you with another cool gaming moment, David.
Let's hear it.
It's most of the games that I played in Helldivers 2.
Nice.
Helldivers 2 did not make my list, but I couldn't ignore the fact that it was extremely fun to play through most of the time that I played it.
What's the guy's name again? The cool guy?
What cool guy?
The cool guy who said, hell yeah, brother, as you fired a turret.
Oh my God. I do not remember that. Yeah, that information has totally left my brain. I'm sure it's in the .zip description somewhere.
That's one of my favorite gaming moments.
Yeah, me too. Maybe we can narrow it down to that dude exactly. But it was a really incredible game, and I think like there are problems with it in the way that there are with most Lives games, but it was really cool to see something that wasn't just like, a huge company being like, hey, we invested a lot of money, can you play the game now, please? Like I'm sure this was an investment for sure, but that there was a lot of passion behind this game and it was extremely fun to play. So yeah, most games in Helldivers 2.
Cool.
Do you have a gaming moment you would like to share, David, in this moment here?
Yes, I do. It's the skating in Tinykin.
Oh yeah, true. I was thinking about bringing Tinykin into my GOTOY, but because 6 was a weird number, I just didn't do it.
That game was really good.
It was very good. I like Tinykin.
And the skating in particular felt so good.
It did.
It was like one of the best skating games I'd played in a long time. Just like free-flowing, fun, easy to do what you need to do and just get around. And you just felt so in control of everything when you were skating. And the grinding felt really good too. It was a lot of fun just to move around in that game. Yeah, fun game.
It was surprising that like in this game of all places there was skating, but I agree, it felt incredible.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the skating felt so good and let you go around so fast and efficiently really made this a collectathon that I could get behind, because I've never been a big fan of collectathon games, but the fact that it made traversal so fun and fast and slick, which is like, I'll go on the other side of the map, it's fine, I'll do some crazy shit, get there, it's good, we're good.
Yeah, it's like not hard to traverse.
No, it's not onerous,
Yeah, I agree. I also like Tinykin.
Good game.
Yeah, good game. Wow. Oh man, I'm excited for number 6. What do you got at number 6, David?
For number 6, Chase, I have Spider-Man 2 Spider-Men's.
Oh, cool. I forgot that you played that this year.
Yeah, that was this year.
Oh, yeah. Spider-Man's.
This game was so much more than just a sequel to Spider-Man or even Miles Morales. They were really trying to say something with their chest with this game, and I really appreciated that in a way that I have not really seen Insomniac try with other games in the past. Maybe I guess probably started with Ghost of Tsushima, or is that Sucker Punch?
I think that, no, you're right. That was Sucker Punch.
Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, the most recent thing they did was the Marvel Spider-Man 2 and then Rift Apart as well.
Okay. Forget what I just said, but
I will say that Rift Apart has more to say than a normal Ratchet and Clank game.
This is true. I would agree. They're starting to try to find like a voice, which is exciting to me. And I think they dipped their toes in with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and then really, I think, nailed it with Spider-Man 2, Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
And just the character arcs of all of everyone in this game were great. Really interesting developments in every main character, I would say. Everyone had fascinating ways and they were interacting with each other and what they wanted and how that was changing throughout the game and changed their relationships with each other. So even more than just how good the game was mechanically, the game was very interesting and engaging on a narrative and character level that like the first couple of games kind of got close to, in that they really made you like the characters, but they never really had them go through such turmoil or tumult, at least not on the level of this game. And it was great to see Insomniac find their voice as far as game storytelling goes, and then marrying that with their already exceptional way of creating a fun game mechanically. And going through New York with the spider wings or whatever they were called was great. I love love wingsuiting through New York City and then going across to, I don't know, Queens, I guess, Brooklyn on the other side of the river by hitting some wind gusts. I was going to sound like such a West Coast asshole for a second there. I was like, oh my God.
You got a Massachusetts jersey? Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't know where I am. There's just all these drones in the sky. I can't get around them. Topical. And that was one of my better moments in gaming this year too. It's just wingsuiting around New York. That really solved some of the more, like I said, in any like bloated big game that has like collectathon-y aspects to it, being able to get around easily and quickly and in a fun and satisfying way is so important. And I think that the wingsuit really gave you that in this game more than just like what web swinging could do. And made it a much more streamlined and satisfying mechanical game as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing that Tinykin we were just talking about, right?
Exactly.
Like it's much easier to get across from one place to another, and they make it enjoyable.
You got it.
Yeah, it's good.
Good game.
Good game.
What is your number 6, Chase?
A recent addition, David.
Ooh.
And I will say in the past week has shot up my list.
Okay.
My number 6, David, is Metaphor ReFantazio.
Hell yeah.
I was going to make a new category this year called the I didn't play as much of this as I wanted, but I think if I had played more of it, it would be higher category. And it was going to be this and also Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which I'm mostly just apologizing directly to Willa and Robin at Girl Mode because I know that they're both going to be disappointed it's not on here. But Metaphor ReFantazio, I ended up playing a lot of it. I've played a lot of this game and I no longer feel ashamed to put it somewhere on my list given the amount that I played it. Because like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I played like 5 hours. I don't think I can earnestly get this anywhere near my list. And then I think a couple of days ago, I was hanging out in my Gauntlet Runner with all my friends and I'm like, I can't imagine life without my friends anymore. And then I'm like, okay, no, there's something happening here.
These are my best friends in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously I haven't beaten this yet. And so like, I can't speak to how it like nails the end, but already like is such a fun experience and such a cool game that like, I couldn't help but be like, yeah, this is the shit. I like this a lot. I've liked most of the Atlas releases that I've played, the sort of Persona series. I haven't dug into like Shin Megami Tensei or anything like that, which I know is, a similar like cousin style video game of Persona, or I guess Persona is maybe a cousin of that. I know it was first, but I had my heart a little guarded with Metaphor, I will say.
Oh.
Because like Persona was like 5 specifically was such an important new opening of my eyes to like, oh, this is a very different kind of game in a way that I haven't really played before that got me into that series as a whole and just like, other games like it, the kind of life sim genre. And with Metaphor, I was like, I don't know if I'm necessarily into the fantasy version of that. And I will say that I typically still, after having played a lot of Metaphor at this point, I still prefer the like setting of just like kind of X-Men-y high school kids.
Sure.
Like that I find that more novel, but they still wrote the shit out of some of these characters. And I'm so invested in all of them that like no, the stuff that works about that game is still here. It's a little bit modified with like, the planning of sort of routes in the Gauntlet Runner and making sure that you have enough time to like go places and do shit and then collect all the, the missions that you need. And I just find that loop so much fun whenever I get to a new city. And I'm like, all right, y'all, what problems do you need me to solve? Let's mop up every issue that everyone has here.
I'm on the campaign trail. Let's go.
Yeah. What's your big issue that you're having? And being able to like get in the Gauntlet Runner and then just like go to different dungeons and fight different people. And yeah, it's just such a cool loop that they've got going on. And like, I am shocked at some of the accuracies with which they're depicting modern politics in the game. Like,
America feels very called out in this game.
Yes. And like, it's pretty wild that they're able to do it with such accuracy. Like there's so many times where like, specifically Luis, I think is kind of the character that like is the most representative of like modern shit going on. And like so many times where somebody will say like, oh, it's not the norm. Like, why isn't Luis participating in like this weird norm that we've set out? And he's like, well, fuck you guys. I don't want to do it. Like, that's shitty. And if you think I shouldn't do it, you're weak. Like, and so many people buy it. I'm like, how did you call this shot so goddamn well?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. And I think I'm just so invested in the space and the people. And like, I sort of feel like that they may not land the ship with the like utopia stuff. Like, I just get the sense that maybe we're not going to get there with that one, but I'm kind of okay with that. Like it is a game that feels very idealistic in a lot of ways. And I think that that's on purpose. Yeah. That it is saying like, we should strive for this shit, even if it feels like fantasy, So yeah, I like, it's good Atlas shit, man. It just works. This is not my last Atlas game on this list.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. The year of Atlas.
They're firing on all cylinders right now. As we've said before, it sort of feels like the string of heaters that like Square Enix was on with Final Fantasy and stuff like that, kind of in the aughts, was singular in a way. And I kind of feel like Atlas is doing that right now and with their own style of game.
Sure.
Where it's like just every one of them, I'm so impressed with what's coming out of there.
They're doing great games.
Yeah, I really like them. So yeah, that's Metaphor ReFantazio. That's my number 6, David.
Oh yeah.
Can I hit you with a gaming moment though?
Please.
It's catching a whale in web fishing, David.
What?
I don't know if I talked about web fishing on this podcast. I don't know.
Maybe it sounds familiar. This game.
So web fishing is this like almost like Club Penguin-esque video game where you like I think it's largely
it's
multiplayer.
Like
Animal Crossing is kind of the pitch. Yeah. You show up and you can like just hang out with your friends and do shit and like fish and collect bugs and like sell your fish for upgrades and stuff. It is definitely like the platonic ideal of a hangout game of like, hey, do you want to hop on Discord real quick and play some web fishing while we chat? It is exactly that. I think it is so charming and like very cool to experience with more than one person. I played this with, I think it was Kim, Robin, Matt, and Brendan from the network at some point. And like, it was just so much fun. It was such a silly time. I believe at some point, I think it was Kim who caught a whale when she was fishing. Wow. And it is just so stupid big. Like you can see, I was like looking like, where is she? And I turned around and like, I'm so far on the other side of the map and I can see the whale that she's holding up.
God, yeah, I see this. Wow.
You can also put it into like the aquarium in your town and it of course like clips out of the edges of the the boundary. It's just so funny. It was so incredible. And yeah, web fishing, for whatever reason, it didn't make my list just because I was like, I didn't feel like I was like playing it enough in a weird way, although it was a very singular experience that I couldn't really help but like at least nod my head to.
Sure. Yeah. Got to give it its due.
Yeah. So yeah, that's web fishing.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a moment, David?
Chase? I do.
David?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a moment.
That for sure is, yeah.
Getting stalked by Mr. X in Resident Evil Evil 2.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very spooky.
It is so spooky just to hear his big old feet stomping around somewhere, like a couple halls down from you or above you, below you, somewhere. He is just plodding along, searching for you. And it's even scarier when you hear him speed up because you know that he just heard you move.
Yeah, he saw you or knows where you are or
and just sees you from across the room and just like starts going from a slow walk to a speeding walk, a speed walk. It's so well done in just how subtle it is. But yeah, it doesn't like beat you over the head with like, oh, listen for Mr. X's footsteps. Mr. X heard you. It doesn't give you any like little tutorial hints or anything that. It's just, you know what the footsteps mean. He's coming for you. Get the fuck out, right?
Big man on his way.
Big man on his way with malintentions.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very good moment. Very fun.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I actually need to double up on a gaming moment here. I'm going to do 2.
Okay, sure.
Because I will have no better. Actually, you know what? No, I won't. I'm going to wait because I'm going to call this shot.
Oh.
I'll call my shot right now.
Oh, what's your shot? Are you calling it?
I suspect that metaphor will come up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a gaming moment related to metaphor.
Okay,
so
great.
I'll save it for that.
Save it. You might have to wait a bit.
Yeah, I sort of got a feeling. Some of the words you've been describing about not having an experience like this in a while, I'm like, okay, all right, let's see where we're going here. Mm-hmm. Okay, David, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Haunty.
Haunty. Wow. That's high for Haunty.
I really liked Haunty. This was a great game.
Yeah.
I do weight games that came out this year more highly than games of previous years, just because I feel like that's more fair for me, for my list, my weird list that I do. But I do think that it goes toe to toe with any of these other games that have come before it until now as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's really well made. I was so surprised by the quality of this game. I loved the art style. I loved just the very broad and vague ideas it had about death, dying, the afterlife. I would have liked it to have said things a little bit more with its chest, but I think it's almost like a painting in a way. You are meant to interpret, and it's not supposed to be super clear, and I enjoyed that. And then also a big gaming moment of the year for me, just the beautiful vignettes of your memories that you find in this game.
Yeah.
Are so incredibly well done. You really get a sense of who this person is in their life through these memories. And it's just exceptional that they are able to convey so much through so little. Not to mention that the gameplay itself is fun and challenging and interesting. It's a weird twin stick shooter with a haunting mechanic and puzzle elements. The use of foreground and background, and what I think you call it parallax, is that right?
Yeah, where the background moves at a different speed compared to the foreground.
And the depth that you get in this game for a side scroller are incredible. It's so good. Yeah. Just the level with the roller coasters and going on the coasters and the boss battle in that level are just visual treats, truly, I think. Yeah, just top to bottom, it's a great game. I did not feel tired of it at any point. I did not feel that it was ever a slog to get through. It never overstayed its welcome, and the collecting elements were fun, right? Once again, it was not, I wouldn't say a collect-a-thon, but a Mario-esque where you have a bunch of moons or something in the levels to collect, and the puzzles are pretty straightforward and don't require too much time, and you can kind of grok what you need to do pretty easily. There are some that are more challenging and more in-depth, but it doesn't gate you from enjoying the content of the game, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, great game. Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's cool. I love this. I like Haunty. I haven't even played it, and I like Haunty.
You should give it a shot. I don't know if you're gonna like it as much as I did, but it's a good game. I think it's worth the time.
Yeah, I did watch the ending on YouTube.
So you're ready. You're ready to experience.
I've mentioned this before. I'm such a existentially challenged man that I kind of need to know where are we going with this?
Sure.
I can handle it if I at least have the smallest inkling of control over the situation of just don't punch me in the gut. I need to know what's coming here.
No, I don't think a gut punches at the end.
I don't. Having seen the end, I would agree with you, but I think it asks you to engage with death in a way that is
absolutely
direct rather than saying like, it's going to be fine. You know, like in a way it is saying that, but I think it is grappling with the reality of what death and dying looks like.
It is grappling with the reality of death by giving the player character and the player themselves a lesson in letting go.
Yes, yeah.
That's really what the game is about, is being able to let go and experience the next thing that is to come, right? I would say that there are some definite Judeo-Christian undertones to this game, and if that's not your thing, you might be off-put by it. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily my thing, but it's not a deal breaker for me, and it is, I think, just a shared concept of death that is familiar to me growing up in the good old US of A.
It doesn't ever depict like Jesus in it, you know, like it's not like that level of Christianity.
But it is biblically accurate angels sort of Christianity.
Yeah.
That is what's in it.
I think it just engages with the imagery of like afterlife.
That's fair.
You know, like and I agree that like it is, I think, largely rooted in the imagery of like kind of Western religion.
Yeah.
But even if my cursory glance over kind of the playthroughs of the game, it doesn't look like, you know, there's no Jesus stuff going on.
No.
It's not so overt, you know.
No, and there's not like a www.findjesus.com ad at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
JesusSaves.com. So it is very much more about asking questions of death, how you deal with it, what comes after is essentially where it is trying to have a conversation, as opposed to, you know, saying any sort of religious leaning or belief is true.
Sure.
Yeah. Really great game.
It feels like a game that is asking you to engage with dying rather than engage with like, isn't heaven going to be so cool? It's much more like, how do you move on? How do you deal with this? How do you accept the fact that like this will happen?
How do you die well?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Because the first thing that happens in the game is you die.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the game is finding out how to now live in the afterlife and what is necessary to move on to the next phase. It is haunting, this game. It is ethereal. It is sad and sweet. There's just a lot of emotions going on in this game. Really, really good. I really enjoyed it. This is definitely something I'm going to remember for a while. And I'm very curious to see what this game dev does next, because I thought this was great. Really excited to see what they do. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's great. I like that.
Yeah. What was your number 5, Chase?
My number 5, David, was Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth.
Nice.
Yeah, we are right in the middle of my string of RPGs.
I was about to say the RPGs are coming, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of it. Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth is the newest entry in what used to be called the Yakuza series, and they have sort of rebranded the name of it to Like a Dragon, at least in this entry and the previous one. And I tried for a while to get into Yakuza games, and I really liked the heart that those games had. Like the voice that they had in those games I found really compelling, but like the actual kind of beat 'em up stuff I wasn't crazy about. Like at certain points it provided more of a time sink for me in a way that I really wanted it to be. Just like whenever I got into a battle, I'm like, oh boy, okay. Like it's not bad. It ended up kind of like distracting me from the parts of the game that I really liked, despite the fact like, you know, I found it fine. I just ended up never committing with any of those games. I never got through most of them, despite the fact like I loved the setting. I love the sort of like strange rebranding of that subsection of Shinjuku that they depict in the game. I like went to that place earlier this year and was like, oh my God, it looks like Kabukicho or whatever.
Yeah.
I just like, I liked a lot of those games, but never really felt like I loved them enough to get it all the way through.
Yeah.
And I was close with Like a Dragon, the original one. I think largely because they changed a lot. They changed their main character to Ichiban, who like is just the fucking best.
You love
like,
Ichiban.
He's just so good. Like he's essentially like, what if Goku was just like a little bit smarter? Like a little bit, not a lot.
Well, that is a strong character.
Because like it in the same way that in like Dragon Ball Z, whenever like half the time when Goku's done beating someone's ass, he's like, we should be friends now. And a lot of the time that does end up happening. And that happens a lot in Like a Dragon, where people are just like, Ichiban, you are so like dense headed. It's hard to get through to him in some way because he's just so attached to his ideals. But at the same time, it's like, he's also so good good, like morally good, that people are like, all right, I think I have to come with you and fight for you now. Like there's no other option for me.
Yeah.
And like so I just love him as a character. And I ended up liking Kiryu, the like previous main character of the Yakuza series, quite a bit. But Like a Dragon was like, it felt like, okay, here's an entry point. I don't need to know anything else really about this series. It of course like connects to the other series eventually. But as a newcomer, I was like, Ichiban's new, I'm new, let's do it. But I didn't beat that game either. I didn't get all the way through it. I eventually fell off of it.
Yeah.
And, not to say that, beating a game is the definition of enjoying it per se,
sure.
But all of those games, it was like I fell off for one reason or another. Whereas I feel like with a game that lengthy, oftentimes I want to see it through. Like it's not like a lack of momentum. It's like I really want to finish those games. And Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, for whatever reason, was that version of this game for me. I think part of it is that I already knew Ichiban, so like kind of got to explore more of his story with this one. I really liked all the side characters. Like Chitose is kind of a standout character in this game, but all of them are really good. The kind of supporting cast that they have in this one, I find them all compelling. Like they're all really good characters and really rounded, and I like care about all of them. Again, Ichiban remains fucking undefeated. He's just the man. Like he's the coolest dude.
Great.
And I also really loved the new location that they went to in Waikiki Beach. I think largely because I've been there so many times that I'm like, this is I know this
will flex right now.
It's a new
really
addition
just like
for
my
me.
Backyard, Waikiki.
Jesus. I hadn't started going there until like 2019. It was a pretty recent thing. But I ended like Em and I go there like kind of as much as we can handle.
Yeah.
We're just like, this is like the coolest shit. And so like the places that they're depicting, I'm like, I know exactly where this is, right? And some of them are so accurate that I'm like, just like I can feel what it feels like to be there. And like, I don't know why in my brain that this is the case, but whenever a video game can depict feeling hot, physically warm, I like it a lot. This is the same.
The Sacramento boy in you just starts to
I think
resonate.
So, yeah, the heat sort of speaks to me in a way. It's the same thing within Persona 5 when the window is open in summer and you can kind of see the fan blowing, and I'm like, man, I know it's hot.
I'm hot right now. I'm feeling this heat.
Yeah, and you can really feel it in Infinite Wealth. Like everybody's wearing flip flops. Nobody's ever wearing like jeans or anything. Like it looks hot, and I love it. I don't know why.
These people
are
warm.
Yeah. So all of that really worked. I don't want to spoil it too hard, but like Kiryu remains a part of this game, and I found his inclusion in this video game like pretty moving in a way, even despite the fact like he is not a character that I was so familiar with. Like I don't know every inch of his person, but I think that the story that they told with him was really, really good, and one that I really, really liked. And everybody was sort of like, the baton pass is coming between the last Like a Dragon, like it happened between Ichiban and Kiryu, but they're still doing it in this one. And like I found that it was just very effective the way that they did it here. And I think the overall story that they tell with Ichiban, essentially like, his heritage and his mom specifically is kind of the person he's chasing after in a lot of this game, is just really good. I found it very, very cool and very interesting. I was always interested in kind of what's going on in the story. There's definitely fluff in here in a way that like, not everything makes sense. And sometimes I'm like, what are we depicting right now? Like this is a little wacky and weird, but like, I think because I'm just kind of along for the weird ride, I was like, it's fine. This is cool with me.
So good. Yeah.
There are so many different mechanical joys in this game. It just has a lot of shit that I like. The just out of nowhere, like Animal Crossing game that they put in this game.
Wow.
I spent like hours and hours on that little island they made. There's like a dungeon crawling part of the game that I was obsessed with for a little while. Yeah. I mean, like, I think a thing you can describe one of the Yakuza series, or a word that you can use to describe the Yakuza series, is abundance in a lot of ways, of just like, there's so much stuff, and a sort of maximalism doesn't always work for me. Like I find the maximalist approach in like GTA feels overwhelming to me, whereas for whatever reason, Yakuza and now Like a Dragon, like the overwhelm or the maximalism there is like, wow, there's so much to do. I can't wait to go take like my Sega quiz at the the like local school to get like a better grade. You know, like there's so much shit in there. There's like a whole whole Pokemon game. You can like train, like you fight certain enemies and they're like, oh, I'd like to join your team. And then you'd like essentially capture them like a Pokemon and fight them in this like underground ring. What? It's all so ridiculous. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
It's so wacky. And I think like it manages to do that thing that I really love in games where there is this kind of like seriousness to parts of the plot. And like you take the characters seriously, but they exist in such a ridiculous world that like when something out like so wild happens, it's not like, whoa, this is out of character, or this is, you know, the tone is incorrect, or no, it's like, yeah, no, Ichiban like goes and collects garbage on the street and gets paid a little bit of money. And then we go to, you know, the Pokemon fighting ring. And now we're talking about where his mom is, you know, like those things all make sense and they go with each other, despite the fact that like tonal whiplash that happens in there.
Sure.
It has that ability to be like totally ridiculous 1 second and completely earnest the next. And I think it's really, really good.
Do you think it's able to do that because of the character of Ichiban?
It's partially Ichiban. I think it's just kind of woven into the world in a way. But yeah, I think like if you don't have a good protagonist, this doesn't work. Yep. You know, like Ichiban takes everything in this world very seriously. Not like he is a serious guy, but whenever someone comes up to him, they're like, hey, I have a problem. He's like, what's your problem? Let's go fix it right now. Like that kind of thing. And in certain ways, like Kiryu is another side of the same coin. Like he is also a very earnest person and takes everything very seriously, but he like looks very gruff, you know, like he's kind of like the tough guy Yakuza, whereas like Ichiban is a tough guy, but he's like a little bit more soft in his personality. But I think that they both work in those instances in the sense that like these are both very earnest guys, despite the fact that like one of them looks a little tougher than the other or acts a little tougher. Sure. Like they both are so attached to their ideals in a way that's like, it's just very fun to witness. It's very cool. So yeah, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I found it very good. I played all of it. Good game. I enjoyed it.
I like the idea of a character who amasses followers just by being a good dude, just by helping out.
It happens every now and then. Like I was trying to think of another game and I know there's one recently that I played that was like this, or maybe like a movie or a show or something like that. I mean, like I guess Dan to Dan kind of works in a similar way where like oftentimes you encounter somebody who would be an antagonist initially. And then through the force of just like goodwill, they're like, okay, well, I guess we're friends now, you know? Which is cool. Like all that all really works for me. I feel like you see it a lot more in like anime and manga where somebody is just so good that they're like, people are like, yeah, fuck it. I'll stop being bad because you're like so cool. So yeah, it's a really compelling character archetype, I guess. Yeah.
That's great.
Archetype.
Whoa. Seeker.
That was a pretty good metaphor protagonist voice.
What's your protagonist's name?
Balion.
Balion.
Balion. I have no idea where I pulled that one from.
Whoa. That's just like a good name.
I know. Like usually I start typing in my name and then just try and kind of fly off the handle at some point. Like Chast or Chance or something like that. But for whatever reason, I was like, I kind of want to take him a little bit more seriously than that. And that's where it came
Balion's so hard.
Yeah. What's your protagonist?
Banksy.
Banksy. Whoa. Why?
I don't know.
Changing the world
through my art. Banksy, baby. Seeker.
Yeah, Seeker. That's hilarious. Do you ever equip the like a holy attack on Stroll?
No. Does he say something funny?
He just says it very seriously. He says, "Oh, holy light." Like he is so committed
I can hear him saying it right now.
Yes, yeah.
Like when Heismay does anything. Oh, power of kings. So intense.
It's really good. I love all their fucking voiceovers. They're so amazing. A quick gaming moment, if you'll permit me, David.
Let's hear it.
It's the end credits scene in Like a Dragon.
Oh, good.
Infinite Wealth. It is very good. And I think like if you didn't know anything about Ichiban or the story that happened in this game, I think you could watch the credits and understand exactly who Ichiban is.
Sure.
Like you get the full picture. It is like a full arc of who he is in like just the credit that flash by the screen. And I think it's just like a perfect ending to the video game overall. It's really, really good. I really enjoy it. Again, it has a lot of character stuff going on in the background, but like it's incredible. I really did.
Hell yeah. Love a good ends credits scene.
Yeah, me too. I feel like games usually just hit you with the 10-minute text scroll, and sometimes it's nice to be treated to a little something else.
A little something.
What do you have a gaming moment you'd like to share with the class, David?
Yeah, it's Knee Bazooka from Blood Will Tell.
Whoa. Wow. I forgot we played that at all this year. And B, I forgot that there was a bazooka on his knee.
Cannon, bazooka, same, but that was good gaming. That was good gaming. I'm like, this is a video game, and I am here for it. It was ridiculous. It made no sense. Where does he keep the cannonballs? Where do they go? Is he like just 1,000 pounds, this man walking around?
Yeah.
Don't think about it. It's a video game. It's good.
He's got cannon
good for you.
in
He's got
leg.
cannon in his knee.
Yeah.
He's blood will tell man.
Yeah. I agree. I'm with you.
Good shit.
Wow. I forgot about that game.
That game was fun.
It was fun.
Ridiculous.
It's very video games.
Also a good gaming moment, that one, when you get your eyes back and it becomes color again.
Yeah, like color. Yeah, it's like fucking Wizard of Oz all of a sudden.
That's good.
Yeah.
A nice touch.
Would you like to tell me about your number 4, David?
Yes, Jace. This is when it starts getting real good, I think.
Okay.
My number 4 is Inscription.
Oh yeah, I forgot you played this one this year.
This game was real good. This game was really good. Just that it was like 3 games in one, told this really weird, kind of scary story underneath the surface of it all. Just the vibes of the beginning, where the guy's just the forest guy's like blah, 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 which is creepy fucking eyes in the dark, and you're just learning this game. It just felt like being kidnapped by a serial killer, the video game, when you first are playing it.
Yeah.
Which I think is what they're really going for, honestly.
Yeah.
Then being able to like get up away from the table, explore the cabin, have all these little like escape room-esque mini games around the cabin to figure out how to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So good. And then just keeps on breaking so many walls throughout the game. It comes a little deck building RPG, changes again near the end. You start to realize what the fuck is going on in this world. It is a roller coaster ride, not just of a story, but of game mechanics, and really just masterfully being able to change so much context and gameplay in this game without it feeling obscenely abrupt or out of nowhere, or, you know, like out of left field, right?
Yeah.
You are shocked by it at first, yes, but then you start to realize, okay, they were just teaching me how to play this version of the game now. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this, right?
Yeah.
Just excellent through and through. Everything about it is exceptional.
Yeah.
Great game.
I agree.
Yeah.
Inscription's really good.
Was this your game of the year one year?
No, I feel like I got to it too late. Like, I started playing Inscription and didn't really get to the stuff where it's like, whoa, what is going on here when it came out. So I feel like, if this is the one where I'm like, if I played more of this that year, would this have actually like been much higher? But I don't remember where it was landing. So yeah.
Great game. What else can be said about Inscription at this point except play it? Even if you don't like deck building roguelikes, give it a shot. See how it lands for you.
Yeah. I think it's like, it's not so hard that you have to be like a professional deck builder to really enjoy it. I think that there's plenty there for you either way.
Yeah. And then when the cards started talking to me, that was a good gaming moment of this year. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm with you.
So good. The mystery.
Yeah. Very fun. I read this manga recently called Land of the Lustrous, which is very good. I would really recommend it.
How many manga are you reading a week?
Man, I am flying through this shit.
You read so quick.
I think partially it's because I'm reading before bed, and just like that is a indeterminate amount of time. It could be half an hour. It could be 3 hours, depending on like, did I do good like sleep hygiene today? Or like, did I go to the gym hard enough to tire my body out to go to sleep? But just flying through it. But the point being is that like the scale and scope of that manga changes so dramatically a couple times in a way that like it's not exactly the same thing, but in the way where you're like, whoa, there's so much more going on here, similar to Inscription, where like the scale of it, just at some point you're like, this is such a different thing than I thought it was gonna be.
You're like, what is happening here? Not what I thought, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Can I tell you about my number 4, David?
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is the end of my RPG string of games.
Oh.
It is Persona 3 Reload. David.
That's what I thought.
Disturbing the peace. Look into my eyes. Now tell me the things you were loving about behind
it's number 4. This is a good one. So I played Persona 5, talked about that. I played Persona 4. I also like that, but I was holding off on playing Persona 3 because I heard it was good, but I knew by the time that I was like considering playing 3, it was like the remake of 3 was like on its way. I'm like, I'll just wait. It's fine. And so I picked this up this year, and me oh my, it just really has stuck with me. I finished it and I was like, that was a really good Persona game. I wonder where it will kind of land for me in the grand scheme of my experience of it, but it just remains up high. And I feel like we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Metaphor, maybe last week or something, where Persona 3, I think, really interprets the calendar system well in regards to the story that it's telling. The other games like take it, I wouldn't say for granted, but like it is an assumption in 4 and 5, whereas in 3, like it is so tightly coupled to the story of what's going on. And it's just there the whole time. You are constantly feeling it. And the kind of one of the main like symptoms of the evil in the world that you're trying to get rid of is this thing called apathy syndrome. And it's like kind of haunting the way that they depict it, because eventually people like are just kind of like laid out like in like a mall or something, kind of just like vacantly sitting there, just very apathetic about it. And I think the game is saying a lot, but one of the themes that like really started to hit with me is this like sense or this urgency, this need to take life or take like every moment of life as a sort of gift that you've been given, and like not take it as an assumption in a way, like the apathy of the moment, or just like I don't care about anything, or like I don't necessarily want to keep on trying or moving forward or anything like that. That I get that. Like I understand the sort of temptation towards like hopelessness and doomerism and all that shit. And I think the game just provides such an acute counterpoint to all of that, while also acknowledging the fact that like you will need to continue forward, like that even despite like some brutal setbacks that like not just the main character goes through. There are many characters in that game that like have really tough things happen to them in a way that's like, how do you move on from this? Like, how do you continue going? And I think the game is really beautiful in the way that it handles that. And like the calendar is sort of wrapped up in all of it, It's like one of the initial like setups in the game is just that like there is this deadline towards the end of the game where it's like this could be the end of the world, like this could be the thing that stops the entire world. And like, how do you live like that? How do you live like knowing that there is an end? And I think like in the fiction of the world, that is something that they need to grapple with very directly. But what is life if not knowing that there will be annihilation at some point? That like at some point you will have to grapple with the fact that you will end. And I don't think that they of course know that that's kind of the story that they're telling. And so I think like the social links that you do, the characters that you meet, almost everything is connected to that question of like, what do we do with our time? How do we do this knowing that this will stop? That's someday, and like some characters have already gone through the thing that you would assume has stopped them, like some have suffered like just incredible loss, or some are about to, like they're about to experience something that is just like devastating, and seeing how each of them like grapple with it and think about it and feel it it's just incredible. Like it is, again, I think of all the Persona games, this one is the most focused on what it is saying and what it's doing. And so like it really just landed with me again. Like I'm a existentially frightened dude. And so anything that can kind of like, I don't even know if I think this year specifically, I've been looking at it a little bit differently, of not necessarily calming that or trying to distract me, but like look at it, like see the fear and like feel it and experience it. Not like don't run from this, because I think like acceptance is a much easier place to get to, or an easier state to live in than denial or distraction, And I think Persona 3 is like pretty directly grappling with that. So I think it's a really good game. There are certainly problems with it, like any Atlas game for sure. But I thought it was really, really, really good. So yes, that is my number 4.
Oh yeah,
Dave.
I'm gonna have to play that game.
I think so. I think like
sounds interesting.
If you're looking for one after Metaphor, it might be the move, because I think it has the least amount of cruft in it.
Sure.
It really gets you in the game quickly. And so like you will recognize the patterns of like, oh, okay, here is the kind of day-to-day system, and here are the character links that I can go talk to, and all of these people who I can be friends with and shit. Like that stuff will hit very early. And so you won't have to like search around very hard for like, where's the stuff that I liked about Metaphor, I will say that the dungeoning thing is like the one sort sort of like double-edged sword in that it is much more routine in a way. Like the dungeons are so much more built out in like 5 and even 4, not less so 4, but 5 and Meta 4 are both like, wow, these are cool. The like big dungeons are like very flashy and fun.
Yeah.
Whereas like 3, you are just trying to climb a tower and a lot of floors look very similar. But again, if you can deal with the fact that you're just kind of slogging through this place, it's also a little bit thematically rich because you're like, I'm just going to work, baby.
Apathy. This is apathy, man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like if you get caught with the apathy bug or the I don't want to do this, it doesn't really matter, like then suddenly you're in the world. You know what it feels like.
There you
go. So it's interesting at the very least.
Cool.
Yeah, it's good. Let me see. Can I tell you about a cool gaming moment that I experienced this year, David?
Yeah, please.
It's Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2.
Ooh, it's a good pyramid, huh?
They did it right. I was very concerned, like of all things, like there's so much in the Silent Hill 2 remake that they could have fucked. And by and large, this is a remake of Silent Hill 2. It's Silent Hill 2. Like there's nothing that is so dramatically different from the first one, but I was like, man, I hope that Pyramid Head is still scary. And sure is. Still quite frightening.
Still spooky, huh?
Very spooky. The design is very scary. Scene where you can see him for the first time if you're like looking for him, just lurking in the background. I'm like, man, what are you doing in here? It is so scary.
It's a frightening character.
It's very, very scary. I'm not surprised at all that this is like in the Hall of Fame of game stuff. It's very spooky. Do you have a moment for me, Dave?
I do.
What is it?
It is blasting the hell out of the tyrant in Resident Evil 3 with the railgun.
It's very
at
good.
The end.
Yeah.
That is good gaming right there. Railguns are certifiably cool always, and that you just blast a hole, not just through the monster that's been stalking you this whole game, just being a gigantic spooky pain, but just through the wall, like as far as you can see, is so good and satisfying.
It's very cool. Yeah.
That part was great. I loved that.
It's very good. It's also extremely Resident Evil.
Yeah.
To just be like, the last thing, let's just give you like the biggest gun.
Here's the biggest gun ever, and that thing that was unkillable is now killable. So kill it.
Yeah. It's very good. It's video gamey as hell.
Yeah. That was a fun time.
Let's talk about our number 3s, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I go first, right?
You go first. Yeah. Tell me about your number 3, David.
My number 3, Chase, is Balatro.
My thought was, I'm going to write down your 3 on a piece of paper. I didn't, but my thought was to do that, and I'm already wrong. So tell me about Balatro, David.
I was about to say, you could lie and tell me it's right, but I'm going to ask for evidence.
Yeah, no, I would have expected you to put Balatro 2. So
I did. I mean, it was the top 3 was really difficult for me this year.
Yeah.
They are all very deserving games, but I think it just came down to me what like the peaks. I went off the peaks for myself for these. And Balatro is a fantastic game. It is some chill lo-fi math to hang out with and massage your brain to.
Yeah.
I think you had talked about this game before I had even like understood that it existed, and I was confused by what it was and why people were excited about it.
The pitch of it doesn't make any sense why it's compelling. Like,
yeah, it's like, I know poker. Poker's fine. Why wouldn't I just play poker, right? I just become like a free cell monster like my mom. But it is such a unique spin on it, and it is, I think, also aided by the fact that since it is relying on poker, something that is, widely, I think, part of just our culture, right? Yeah. Most people know what a poker hand looks like and is, and roughly what is a good hand and what is not a good hand.
Yeah. Most people could identify like what a flush is. Even if they didn't know the name for it, they'd be like, I bet if I got all suits that would be something, right?
That would be a good thing. That would be a good thing to do. And if they all were sequential, that would probably be even better, right?
Yeah.
So it is an easy game to understand at its base level, but then they just have so many different permutations on what you can do. They do such a good job of teaching you how to maximize what you're doing and how you are placing things, ordering things, what to choose, what not to choose. Maybe something is a really good card, but right now it doesn't go with my deck, so I can't synergize with it, so I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to pick a common card because it's actually going to be like fucking bananas if I get this right now, and it's going to make me unfuckwithable. And you get the first million combo, and you just feel like a Bolotro god, and then the next blind you go up to, it's like a $15 million blind, and you just cannot beat it at all.
Yeah.
So it just keeps on raising the stakes in such a fun, interesting way. No two playthroughs ever feel the same, because there's so many jokers, there's so many different blinds, there's so many different ways that you can go through the levels too. It just, every single time you get a new fresh set of options, and almost always they are options that you haven't had before.
Yeah.
No matter how long you have been playing. Yeah, this game is great. It just feels like it kind of feels like the infinite game. You can just keep playing it and playing it and playing it, more so than any other roguelike or roguelite that I have played, because it's just so low key to get into. It's not like I have to smash buttons and really have, you know, my reflexes going like with Hades, right? Or like really be thinking like with a Slay the Spire or a Monster Train, right? There is something both streamlined and slick and simple about it, but the depth of it is just so...
Yeah, it's unreal.
So, yeah, unreal that there's just so many different ways that this game can surprise you and keep surprising you and keep engaging with you. Yeah, it is an exceptional game.
Yeah, I agree. And I will have more to say about it soon.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's sensational. It's a really incredible game. Yeah.
Chase, what's your number 3?
My number 3, David, it is not Bolotro. My number 3 is Shapes 2, David.
Shapes 2.
Shapes 2.
Got to shape it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a square. So Shapes, I suspected this is maybe one of the more or lesser known games on this list because I think it's for a special brand of factory perverts that like this kind of stuff.
Factory perverts.
And
you know that's going to be a game soon, Factory Pervert.
Probably, yeah. That's probably almost certainly a thing.
We're making pantsuit today.
So I love these kinds of games, you know, Satisfactory and Dyson Sphere Program and Factorio now I'm a little bit more into. And all of those games, they all rely on a similar kind of baseline experience for why it's fun to play them. And something that I enjoy about a lot of them, but it's not like the reason I'm there, is like making a perfect system, you know, like a lot of the times it's just like I am making the factory to get to the next goalpost. And that's kind of the fun part for me of like, can I make this machine work well enough to get like, you know, enough iron to get sheets out of it to make like, you know, this technology that will get me to the next goalpost. And the pitch of Shapes 2 is that it's like a game that is only about the kind of like automation of it all. And the sort of like, do I have enough resources to make you know, a smelter, or do I have enough like room to build this stuff? Or there's just like a certain amount of friction that those games put in there that Shapes 2 was like, what if we didn't have that? Sure. And my initial reaction was like, I don't know if that actually sounds very good to me. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that really just wants to make like the perfect automated system. Like that isn't actually the thing that appeals to me. But upon firing up Shapes 2, I was like, maybe I am now. Maybe I do like that. Essentially, like the game just removes so many assumptions about what a factory game needs to be.
Sure.
And is like, it's still fun because of that. And I think that they make a lot of smart decisions about how to do that stuff. Like one of the easier examples is that like when you're like extracting shapes from the ground, that's part of the deal, is that you just like pull like squares out of the ground and then you have to deliver like a painted blue square to the cyclone in the middle of this big map. And one of the things you can do is that like if you want to extract those things, you have to put a little extractor on it and then put a little belt on it to get the stuff away from there so you can go and process it somewhere else.
Yeah.
In Satisfactory, you'd have to build all that shit by hand, and you do once in Shapes, but it's just like you can just select it and copy and paste it if you want to like do it somewhere else, right?
Sure.
And then eventually, like if you zoom out farther, you can start copying and pasting like different like kind of components essentially. So like if you have something that extracts squares and then paints them blue, you can just make like a blueprint out of that and you won't have to really like build that again. Like if you figured out like this is a version of this thing that works really well for me, I'm just going to keep it so that like if I ever want to do it again, I can just like paste it on the ground rather than like, again, in Factorio, they do have blueprints eventually, but like in most of those, it's a lot more like arduous of a process to do it, right? It costs something. You have to like make sure that you have enough resources and inventory space and shit like that. And like Shapes is like, no, don't worry about that. Don't do that. And so it puts a much higher emphasis on just make like the best factory you can. Like that is the thing that is the fun here. And of course, like I need some kind of goal. Like it's not, I can't just go in here and be like, I want to build a perfect machine and that's satisfying enough.
Yeah.
And so mercifully it does have like, okay, your first goal is to deliver like 10,000 squares or something like that. And then we're going to cut them in half and we want you to deliver that like diamond shape that you now have or something.
Yeah.
And so that stuff really, really helped me with like just giving me somewhere to kind of orient myself. But even still, the point of the fun is kind of the journey to get there of just like building something that you're like, man, that's fucking perfect. Like it's got exactly as much belt as I need to have it. It's all compact and like in the like right little spot. Like it's again, factory pervertry, you know.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
You're really getting into like you were blushing a little bit. You were sweating when you were talking about that just now.
I was smiling with my eyes because I really meant it, you know.
I felt it. I really felt it.
Yeah, so this game it just the phrase that kept coming up for me was like it's rewiring my brain whenever I'm playing it because I have to think about these problems in such a different way than I normally do in other games. And I just truly couldn't put it down once I like started playing it and just flew through the whole thing. It was also one of those situations where like, you know how after you play Tetris a lot, you have like Tetris dreams where you can see the little Tetrimnos falling from the sky and shit.
Yeah.
I felt exactly the same, but I was seeing like production lines and like saturated belts and shit. It was very bizarre, but I was just wild for it. I think it is so much fun. And like, again, I usually think like I want a game to have some kind of like message or story. And like, God, does Shapes not have a message or story? It's just like, just build the thing and that's the fun of it. And it's incredible. I would, again, it's challenging my assumptions about what I need in a video game. And this one was like, you don't need much other than like just the game being good. I also got to shout out that like the user interface in this game is just fucking perfect. It's like everything that I expect to work a certain way, it works exactly that way. They've got just the right amount of like feedback and information that it's showing you without it being like, holy shit, what am I looking at? You know, like I think games that have like really sophisticated systems in them, the more sophisticated you get, the more that you're just staring at an Excel sheet. And it's like, I actually don't know if I want to work in Excel while I'm playing Planet Coaster, you know? Like, and it's a real thing that you have to start like thinking about if you're getting into those games a lot. But Shapes manages to make it so simple, despite the fact that you are making such complicated machines. I think that's just like, it's something that I see often ignored, especially in kind of like games that don't have as much budget, which like makes sense, right? Like if you don't have the money to hire like a user interface designer, then like, yeah, fuck it, do what works, right? But I just noticed it a lot when I was playing this of like, God, this is something I don't always get in games, right? Like just the right amount of UI, the right amount of like tutorialization, and like the tool tips were all just like really well verbalized or well written.
Clear.
Like, yes, it's very clear what your objective is and how to do it. You just have to like make that happen. Whereas like one of my like, I don't know if pet peeve is even the right word, but it always bums me out whenever I see this of like a game that it's going to teach you mechanics that you won't need for another 10 hours. And they're going to teach it to you in a text box that they throw in 20 other text boxes that show up, right? And then when you hit a difficulty wall later, they don't remind you. They're just like, yeah, you need to learn it back there, right?
Gotta remember.
Yeah. And like, I just think that like this one shows you the kind of like nudging in the direction of like, hey, you can use blueprints if you want to, you know, like it's not telling you here's exactly what to do, but the moment that you can use it, and maybe the moment that it's like you're building bigger systems and it would make sense to start using using a blueprint, it's like, hey, maybe try this. And then the moment you do it, your brain opens up because it's like, oh shit, I don't even need to fuck with the lower level shit anymore. I don't need to build the small machines. I can just think about like input and output now, which is unbelievable.
This still just sounds so boring to me.
That's
I love that you're letting your freak flag fly with this one, but man, like getting excited about like just thinking about input output. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's only a thrill because you had to do the work of building it prior to that.
Sure.
Like you can kind of automate it in a way where it's like, oh, this used to be such a problem for me, and now it's just
less
handled.
Work.
A little bit. The thrill is like I can spend my time doing other cool shit now too.
Gotcha.
Which like, yeah, I understand that like this game is probably not everybody's cup of tea. Like it could, I understand how mind numbing it can sound. And like, if the thrill of like making a good machine doesn't appeal to you, it might not be fun. You know, it's totally possible. There's some games on this list where I'm like, I think this would probably be fun for like most people, you know, like, I think Infinite Wealth is like a pretty good example of like, I bet everybody's going to dig Ichiban. And like, I bet that like you might have fun, you know, maybe the turn-based combat isn't your thing, but there's just so much in that game that like, but there's something in there you'll like. Or Ballatra is another good example of like pretty broad base appeal of like, most people know poker. Most people like when a number goes up and like to think about a problem and like, how do I make all this work together? But Shapes 2 is not one of those games. It is like, it is for the freaks. And if you are one of those said freaks, this will be the thing that's like, wow, that is really
factory
really
perverts, I think is what we call them.
Yes. Yeah. And so like it is not something that I could recommend to everybody, but I'm so thrilled that the genre of automation stuff is like moving in a direction because like part of my assumption with a lot of this is like, I wouldn't know how to innovate in this genre, you know?
Sure.
Like I feel like when looking at games, my brain is always kind of thinking about like, how would I change this? Or like, how would I kind of twist this or, you know, do something different to make a different game, you know, like what would it look like if I combine these two things? And when I'm looking at a factory game, I'm like, what do you add? How do you add something? You know, like you could make it different, but just the baseline level of like building a factory, I'm like, I don't know that you can really get away from that until Shapes 2 is like, oh yeah, we can do something different.
You don't add, you subtract.
Yeah, in a way. And so I think that that's like really valuable that there's people who are thinking about the genre enough to be like, here is something that is advancing it outside of just where it's been, or like making kind of a cool clone of that game. So yeah, I thought it's really good. Shapes 2. It's spelled with a Z. Don't be fooled. Shapes with a Z.
Is the first S a Z or is the last S
the last one? Yeah, it's the Shapes.
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 So is a ding boy? Is being a ding boy just the gateway to becoming a factory pervert?
I don't know. I think it could be a sort of rectangle square relationship. You know, like there has to be something.
What does that
mean? Like, you know how all rectangles. No, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Sure.
Similar relationship where like
you're talking in shapes to me, and I'm not a factory pervert, so you got to dumb it down.
I can imagine somebody who is a ding boy for like World of Warcraft or something, you know, like I love to get a level up or something, not enjoying the factory games. But I wonder if most factory players are just so driven by like achievement that they might also be ding boys at the end of the day.
All factory perverts are ding boys, but not all ding boys are factory perverts.
I think that would be my guess, but I'm sure that there is a contingent of people who like are just there for the automation, you know, the efficiency of it all, which is like truly not usually my jam.
The Germans?
It could be the Germans, yeah. These trains are going to run on time, damn it.
Got to do it.
I've got a gaming moment which will call my shot, I think, for your number 2 game.
Okay, sure.
One of my best gaming moments of the year, David, was the Ape Escape level in Astrobot.
That was a fun level.
It was a very
fun game.
From a very fun game. It is true. A little peek behind the curtain, listeners. At the end of our recording last time, there was a little discussion, and I think it came out that Astrobot's not on my top 10. And David came in here a little wounded today, I will say.
A little hot.
Carrying a little bit more weight than there was last time. I'm not sure what the pain is there, but
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will talk about it. But yeah, the Ape Escape level rocked. It's like in an otherwise very good game, I was like, damn, it's cool that they can just do Ape Escape in a level and it's still very fun.
Absolutely.
Again, I would love another Ape Escape. I feel like that's kind of I wouldn't say a slam dunk, but it's rife for a new entry. I feel like the game space has changed so much since the last couple.
I feel like using the PSVR for Ape Escape makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Kind of a fun little experiment for like what could be.
I mean, make it a full game.
Yeah. Not just like, a tech demo, but like,
yeah,
something to check out once you've got your VR headset.
Yeah. I'm curious. I've never played an Ape Escape game, so I don't have that same nostalgia for it, but I don't know. Does it still have something to give to modern games? I don't know.
I played the first one a little bit. I don't remember when, but I just kind of like messed around with it a little bit, and like it's still very charming. I will say, like I think the layout of it is good, of kind of just bespoke levels where you go in and try and find the apes, like it's very simple shit.
Yeah.
Like the level in Astrobot of Ape Escape, that would go perfectly in an Ape Escape game. Like it's exactly what would be in a normal Ape Escape game. And so like all that I think is like totally good and like could be a game unto itself. But I just feel like there's so much experimentation they could do around the edges that like games have just changed so much that I would be interested to see where they could go with that.
I agree with you, but I don't know if Sony would do it because there's not enough wounded middle-aged fathers with a tragic backstory who learn how to love again.
Not a lot of sad dads in it. That is true.
Not enough sad dads.
Although you
could age up the main character, I guess, right?
Yeah, he could be a sad dad if you want.
And there's one monkey in there that he lost, and now there's another surrogate monkey to replace that monkey.
He's trying to catch all these monkeys to fill the hole in his heart, but nothing will ever fill that hole.
Nothing will ever replace that ape.
That is true.
That ape escaped.
That escaped ape, yeah.
That's the name. That escaped ape is definitely the name of that game.
The Escaped of Us.
The Escaped of Apes, Part 1.
Yeah, that was a fun moment. What do you have a gaming moment for me, David?
I do, Chase. It's beating Radon.
Not a nectar that I could say I've tasted this year.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
I've offered my sword to you, Chase. That offer still stands.
Yeah.
But it was pretty great. It was a pretty great feeling beating him. This was probably one of the more unfair feeling from soft fights.
I think that's why I did not beat it, because I was like, I think I'm maybe not getting any better at this.
I agree. And, looking at my playthrough, there was an element of, there's definitely an element of luck that came into it. Things procced at the right time. I dodged at the right time. The AI ignored me at the right time, but I made it through, which felt good.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I part of the reason that I have not rallied the banners, as it were, to fight Radon is that I deleted the game from my PlayStation because I do not have a lot of hard drive space on there.
That's a big game.
It's a huge game, and I'm just never like, do I want to like do this again? The
answer I want to spend 20 minutes downloading this game.
Yeah. So the answer is usually no, and it's like, I'm not. I don't know. It's fine. I got there, right? It doesn't feel too bad to me to not get all the way to the finish line.
That's fine.
That was also my experience the first time I played the Bloodborne DLC. I like couldn't get past the Orphan of Kos.
That's one of your favorite fights now, isn't it?
I wouldn't say my favorite, but I love that DLC. So yeah, and the second time I got him, I was like, easy peasy, no problem.
Yeah.
So maybe that will be my experience whenever I revisit Elden Ring.
Can I have one more just like somewhat related gaming moment of the year too?
Please, yeah.
Beating Genichiro Ashina on my second time.
Yeah, true.
Replaying through Sekiro.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying because that was the fight where I learned how to play FromSoft games. It was like a 3-day grueling experience for me the first time, and to just handily and easily beat him my second time, my second go through this time felt so satisfying.
Sure.
So satisfying. So yeah, get fucked, Genichiro.
Yeah, I agree. That experience in any FromSoft game is always so sweet, of like, you used to be the problem for me, and you are no longer.
Now I'm the problem for you, baby.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There's one in every game, but I think the gargoyles were one for me in Dark Souls 1. Of like the first time I did that, I was stuck on that fight for so fucking long, and then like the last couple, I'm like, nah, no problem.
Got him.
This is not an issue. Yeah. Or Vicar Emilia in Bloodborne. That's always one where I'm like, seriously, with that was my Genichiro, I think, for FromSoft, was like,
that's an intense Genichiro, which just with the choral song going blasting at full volume in the background.
I think I had to mute it for a while.
I would say I would have to mute that if I was playing that over and over and over again.
It was almost like it was too much. It was making me not be able to be patient in the way that you have to be for those kind of fights.
Yep.
And so I just had to like stop. And then once I got past there, I was like, okay, I think I'm in. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
Hell yeah.
Tell me about your number 2, Dave.
My number 2, Chase, is Astrobot.
I wanted to at least be right about one of them.
You got it. Well, I guess you're right about 2 of them now.
Yeah.
Or maybe you assumed Baldur's was my number 1.
I kind of figured the other one was your number 1 once we get there. But
okay.
Yeah, tell me about Astrobot.
Astrobot is just pure distilled joy in gaming form for me. Like, I have played every single Sony system, so it was just so fun to see all the Easter eggs in there to the past of the gaming franchises. Yeah. The game itself is just immaculate. It runs so well. It looks incredible. All of the different physics that they put into it, everything feels different on the controller when you're walking around.
Yeah.
The attention to detail is insane in this game. It is just so joyous, all of it. And I don't think that a game would feel this way and play this way, if the team itself wasn't also having such a fun time creating it. And that's really what it feels like to me, is that this is just was fun for them and it's fun for me, and it's just a great experience.
Yeah.
The platforming is immaculate. All the levels are bright and colorful and varied. They give you so many different things to interact with the worlds with, the different power-ups that you can do, all unique and different, and give you a different flavor for what Astro can do as a protagonist. And not to mention that they keep on just providing free DLC. They just did like a free winter DLC, with a really fun level, no microtransactions. It's just pure gaming joy. And it just shows that, hey, there is another Mario tier platformer out there now. You know, is it as good as the best Mario games? I would not say so, and not yet. Yeah. But it's at least on par with them at this point, at the same level. And I'm really excited to see where Team Asobi takes this in the future. Yeah. I really hope that it does not become like internal marketing for Sony, essentially, where they just pack in whatever they are trying to sell at that time into this game and then just try to pass it off as a game. That would be the dark future. That is honestly on the table, which I'm afraid of. Yeah. But I'm very hopeful that they maybe come away from just how much of like the Sony lore that they have in it and just give Astro maybe some standalone time to just shine on his own, which I think would be the best way to handle it. But I'm curious to see, and I enjoyed pretty much every second of this game. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I also fear the commercialization of it too much, because like I think it is kind of that already, but not necessarily in the worst way possible. That it is largely a game that like it's good is the problem, right? Like it's a very good video game. And so like the fact that they're trying to endear you to a corporation, that they're like, isn't Sony so cute and such a small bean? Like that is sort of part of the weird thing lurking in the background, but it wouldn't hit right if it wasn't also a really good game, I agree that the fear is that they strip away the good game and they just leave the marketing. And then it's like, oh man, this stinks. Like this is not a good thing. And it's like, it's oftentimes so this was on my honorable mentions, and it was mostly because I was confused a lot of the time about like, do you want me to feel good about these games or feel good about Sony, or like where should my goodwill be attached? Because the game itself is so joyful and so joyous the whole time, and it's like kind of a celebration of a lot of the history of Sony, and like I like that, right? Like I like the sort of like weird collection of characters that they've pulled together in this thing, and so like but like I said, on the other hand, it's like, but where is the new Ape Escape game, right? Like why are we making Naughty Dog only do the huge prestige things? Like, can somebody crank out a new Jak and Daxter? Is that a possibility?
That would be cool. And so I think the main friction for me just comes in the incongruous actions versus the sort of like feeling that I'm having in the game of like them, laying off hella people, but also being like, isn't Sony cool?
Sure.
And that's nothing, again, it's nothing to say of the quality of the game because it fucking rocks. That's the thing that is always confusing for me while I'm playing it.
Yeah. I think the way I interpret it is that I'm not trying to think, oh, isn't Sony cool? Like corporate Sony, but PlayStation is something that I have loved for a long time. And to me, they are different, at least in the gaming space. So it is difficult to parse those two, getting the corporate overlords away from this fun thing that I'm playing.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more just a fun look back at what this company has done for a long time, what this brand has done for a long time, as opposed to trying to paint themselves as a cutesy ooh-woo sort of I'm so innocent and lovable Sony thing.
Multinational corporation.
Multinational corporation that abuses its employees for profit.
Right. I think part of the like scariness for me is that those two things need not be separate, right? Like that they kind of get both, like
sure.
That it is for me, somebody who's enjoyed a lot of their games. I'm also like, I like remembering the things that they've done because they've achieved quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
And so, but that also endears me to a company and I'm like, like it's both go together, And so like, I think unless you can split it, which like, we're adults and can hold two things in one thought, right? Of like, this game is good. And also like, please don't lay people off with disregard, with no regard for their livelihood. Both can be true, but I don't know. It's a good game. That's the problem.
It's a good game. Yeah. It is. I see where you're coming from for it, but I don't see this game and feel the heartlessness of capitalism, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Like
I feel the joy of gaming, and I think that's really what they're going for more than anything.
Yeah.
Which is why it's high on my list.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't think either one of these is right. It's just where my brain was at when I was playing,
Sure. Yeah, I hear you. Ape Escape brought to you by SpaceX. Catch the monkeys in space.
Catch the monkeys in space.
Yeah.
It would be cool if SpaceX actually was not involved. That would be cool.
It would be cool.
I think there actually is a space level in one of the Ape Escapes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, get SpaceX out of here. They are launching a rocket at 3 a.m. tonight or tomorrow.
Whoa.
They fly out of Vandenberg Air Force Base, so we hear them all the time.
Yeah, whoa. Oh yeah, you guys are not that far, huh?
No, hear that sonic boom, baby, 3 a.m. Get woken up. Capitalism says, fuck you, you're in your sleep.
That is the ape escaping.
That is the ape escaping. We're all apes trying to escape this rock, trying to get to Mars, back home.
Back home. Interesting lore drop.
This is my conspiracy theory, Chase. The drones are coming back for us, baby.
Yeah. Trying to take me home. Take me home, Dad.
Martian Road. That's all I got. That's all I got on that one.
I liked it. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chase, what is your number 2 game?
Is Balatro.
Yeah.
It's the card game. Good as hell. We have spoken a lot about it, so I don't know that there's a lot else I can add, but like, it's a good card game. That's really shocking at how good they made poker.
Yeah.
Earlier in the episode, I know this because I edited the first half of this today, but we were talking about how to follow up on something like Spelunky or Slay the Spire, and I feel like Balatro is weirdly one of the best Slay the Spire follow-ups, despite the fact I know that Local Thunk was not like a Slay the Spire head.
Yeah.
But it feels like one of the most interesting advancements of the genre that I've played in a long time.
Absolutely.
In a way where I'm like, how do you actually make Slay the Spire 2 when Balatro exists? Which are like, I know 2 totally different games, but it's so distilled what is fun about deck builders and like card games like this without really existing in the genre in a way that a lot of the other ones do. And like, I wouldn't say it goes this far, but like it almost makes the other card games that are like shades of Slay the Spire look kind of silly because it's like, you could go this far if you wanted to. Like you could go all the way out to Balatro. Like if you played a deck building game, like you could go this way. It's just sort of our own limitations of imagination in a way.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't even see Slay the Spire from Balatro.
No, yeah.
Like you can see Slay the Spire from Monster Train. You can see it from a lot of other deck build. You can see it from Inscription, right?
Yeah, totally.
But I cannot really see Slay the Spire from Balatro.
No, and like I think that's kind of on purpose. Like I said, Locothunk has been the developer of this game was like pretty open about the fact like, oh, I didn't really fuck with those games. Like that's not something I was super into before. And like that's fair. Like I don't think that like I don't think you have to like pay homage to any of these games in the genre or anything like that. But it's for, you know, for better or worse, it is in the genre of a deck builder. And so like you inherently kind of have to think about them in a similar way, or at least like in the same like wavelength. And even though he didn't, you know, fuck with that game too much, it's still like, God, this is such an interesting swerve on the genre that I'm just like so impressed with. I continue to play it. I bought it on my phone because I was like, yeah, like I'll want this on my iPhone at some point, you know?
Yeah.
A couple of flights ago to like New York, I played Balatro for like half of that. Like,
nice.
Because I was like, oh, I didn't progress any of the stuff yet. I'll do that on my phone, and just played it for like 2.5 hours because I was like, it's amazing. It's so good. And it's also really nice to have gotten better at the game without just like unlocking a bunch of jokers. Like my brain is like, oh, I know what good combos are and like what's going to make it for a good hand now, versus like, you know, oh, I haven't unlocked the jokers, so I have no chance of beating this game yet. Like, no, like I'm just better at it after having played it a bunch. Which is just, it's so thrilling. I love this game so much.
What a thrill.
What a thrill. MGS3.
Great game.
Great game.
Really so fun.
It is really so fun. I really liked it. Wow. What else to say about it? It's good cards.
It's good cards.
Math is fun in Balatro.
It really should be taught in schools, I think.
I mean, there is so much elegance to the way that this is designed. Like it has just as much as you need. There is nothing in here that feels like fluff or like too much or optional. Like you really need to engage with all of it. And, but none of it feels like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this, that, or the other thing. Like it all makes sense and it's clear and like, oh my God. Yeah. It's really, really good. So that's my number 2, David.
Love it.
Let's see. Can I tell you about a gaming moment, David?
Please.
One of my favorite gaming moments of the year was Stroll awakening to his archetypal power in Metaphor ReFantasio.
That one in particular.
Stroll specifically. Whenever somebody awakens to their archetypal power in Metaphor ReFantasio, they like rip this metal heart out of themselves.
It's rad.
It's very cool, but Stroll like screams into it like he's like at a rock concert in a way.
Yeah,
and
he sure does.
It's just I was kind of not unconvinced up to that point, but I was like, I wonder if this Atlas game is going to bring the kind of sauce that I kind of expect most of these Atlas games to do. And in that moment, I relaxed because I was like, they will. This is exactly the shit that I want from these games, and it's unbelievably good. So perfect. I'm in good hands now. I feel like
you're safe.
Yeah, I'm safe. It's really good. And like obviously every other character that happens to, I'm like, yep, great, perfect, amazing.
No,
that's always my favorite part in a Persona game too. When one person like goes through something and then they like awaken to their power. It's
they
like
awaken to themselves, which awakens them to their power.
Yes, yeah. It's really good. And I think like they've just so nailed connecting the outcomes of a mechanic of a video game with the outcome of a story of the video game.
Yeah.
Because like in that moment, they almost always get like way more powerful, or they join your team, or like they're so much better at fighting all of a sudden.
It's what self-actualization does to a motherfucker.
Seriously, I mean, like that's it, right? Like they self-actualize and then now it's time to fight, right?
Now it's time to beat ass.
Yes. And like that just really, really works. So yeah, that was really good for me. Do you have one, David?
I do, Chase. It is gaming on the PlayStation Portal.
Oh, interesting.
Just in general. I really enjoy my PlayStation Portal. I know that there are other things that can do the same thing that the Portal does, but the Portal is unique in that it is so light. And it just fits so comfortably in my hands. Like I've held a Steam Deck before, and that boy is
big.
Hefty.
Is big.
That's a hefty boy.
Yeah.
My hands are tired after a day of working.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation Portal understands that, and it's just like a light little feather in my hands. Not to mention that it works well, and the screen is gorgeous, and pretty much every game that I have played on it has played very well. I know that I have a special circumstance with my internet and my PlayStation, but it's great for me. So yeah, it's been kind of a little, not a game changer, but a game maximizer, of a great way for another good way for me to enjoy my PlayStation catalog from anywhere in my home.
Yeah, sure. This was a product that I like saw in previews and I'm like, that is dead on arrival. There's no way that this is going to be good.
I thought the same thing. When I first saw it, I got hyped because I thought it was a real portable.
Yes.
And then I was like, this is a streaming device?
No shot.
Get out of here.
No way.
Yeah.
And it's been very surprising to A, see it sell well, B, hear you enjoy it quite a bit, and then C, in my own desires, find it bubbling up to the surface, you know?
It's a well-made product.
Yeah.
It's a well-made product. It's not terribly expensive. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited to maybe get my hands on one of these guys.
It is shocking to me. I don't even know what convinced me. I think there was like a subreddit for it and people were like, this thing is fucking amazing. And I was like, well, shit. And then I think I was traveling a lot and I was playing through Resident Evil 4 and I'm like, man, it would be cool to be able to play Resident Evil 4 right now. And then that's when I thought, oh, I should get a Portal.
Yeah.
And Erdtree. I was also playing through Erdtree and I was going
on vacation.
I
remember you playing Elden Ring.
I should play Elden Ring on this. Played well.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. Yeah, it's cool. I like that.
Should we do honorable mentions now? And
we should do a bunch of stuff. We should do both. I would love to talk about my games of the other year in this section, and then also we should do honorable mentions. Which one would you like first?
Let's get your GOTOY. I want to hear it.
Yeah. So games of the other year for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that I played for the first time this year that I really, really enjoyed. Butterfly Soup was pretty much near the top of that list. We already talked about it. Unbelievable. Blood Will Tell was also on there because it's just such a ridiculous fucking video game.
Knee cannon.
I liked Titan Souls quite a bit. That was one of the ones we played for the Good Games segment. I liked that a lot. I feel like if I had played that at the time, I would probably be like really about it, you know?
Yeah, I see that.
Legend of Mana. That was a very cool game that I was not expecting. I bought a Japanese copy when I was in Japan. It's over there on my shelf somewhere.
Cool.
And I found it very good. I like people say that, so it's not like a complete surprise, but I was really enthused about the Legend of Mana. Let's see, a couple more. Also, Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2. We played that one for the show. I had Brendan on to talk about it, and it was a good one. While playing it, I was like, this is good, and I'm glad that I'm playing it. And afterwards, I just kind of continue to think about it.
Sure.
And like, it serves as a really interesting comparison point for a lot of other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I'm reading manga recently, I keep thinking about like, oh, this is like 358 Days Over 2. I'm like, how did I go so long without playing this game? Because I feel like it's I am often thinking about how it relates to other shit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And especially for a series that is so concerned with identity, like weirdly 358 Days Over 2 is like one of the more identity focused games of the series. Mm-hmm. I really hope that like there were some rumors kind of swirling around that like maybe this one will get an update in some way to like a more modern console. And I would really, really love that. Like it's really tied to the hardware right now. Like it's tough to not play it on a DS.
Yeah.
And I would really love for other people to experience this because it is like kind of a very singular part of the Kingdom Hearts lore, despite the fact like it seems like you would need to know a bunch of shit about the world and you kind of don't in a lot of ways. Like it is largely so focused on those three characters that like you really don't need to know the lore to get it, to feel it, you know? So yeah, it's pretty good. I liked that one a lot.
Tight.
I've got four more. One, Gravity Rush, obviously. Fucking rocked.
Great.
It was good as hell. Really good. River City Girls 2, very good. Yeah. Very good game. I had a great time playing that. I continued to play it after you and I had played together. And I will say it is not as good solo, but it is still very good. Still very fun.
Hell yeah.
A game that I never talked about on this show, but I did talk about on .zip is called Wide Ocean Big Jacket.
Whoa.
It is this like a kind of visual novel, sort of like walking sim almost. It is very like cute and good. It's about these like four people who go on like a camping trip. It's like a couple who's probably in like their 20s or so. And then like the niece of one of those people and her boyfriend as well. And they're like probably in 6th grade or something like that. And it just sort of swaps like perspectives throughout the time of this camping trip. And it's just like so heartwarming and good. And like certainly is not shy with depicting like interesting conflicts between people. Like it's not like you don't need a ton of like content warnings or anything, but like there is conflict among people and you kind of have to like think about that and grapple with it. But I think ultimately it is just like a very good game and very sweet in the way that it depicts all this stuff. It's also like, I think it takes like an hour to play. It's not long at all. And then finally, of course, David, I did play Mother 3 this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Which
you love that one.
I did. I have to say that was a pretty remarkable video game. I liked Earthbound a lot. That was a game that I ended up liking much later. I didn't like it when I was younger, but I liked it when I played it a year or two ago. And part of me was like, how do you really like top Earthbound? And in a way you don't, you just do something kind of different. And like Mother 3 is a pretty different game, I would say, than Earthbound, but like, god damn, they really popped off with that one. It was some wild shit and pretty harrowing in moments, and like not all of it ages perfectly for sure, but I was like pretty blown away by Mother 3. And I understand now why people are constantly like, come on, Nintendo, please. And also, I also now understand why Nintendo will never do that. They will simply not do that. It's way too heavy of a game for them to be like, yeah, fuck it, we'll put our stamp on this again. So yeah, those are my games of the other year, David.
Hell yeah, love it.
Yeah, those are good ones. I liked a lot of the games we played this year.
There were a lot of good games.
Yeah, there were
a lot of good games.
Do you want to hit me with some honorable mentions?
Yeah, I can do that.
Please.
Let's see. Resident Evil 2 remake. Great survival horror. So scary. Mr. X is a spook master. Yeah, very good game.
You played a lot of the Resident Evil catalog this year.
Yes, I did. I also want to do an honorable mention for the Resident Evil 3 remake. Much more actiony. Jill Valentine is cool. She gives me big Samus Aran energy as just like badass who takes no shit. It's great.
Yeah, she's pretty unrelenting in that game, which I really like. Because Nemesis is also totally unrelenting too.
Nemesis is unrelenting and terrifying, but not as unrelenting and terrifying as her.
It's true.
In the end.
Do you have a feeling for which of these Resident Evil games sort of draws you the most?
Between those two?
Yeah, let's say between those two. And then let's spread that out a little bit.
Between those two, Resident Evil 2 does. I loved the spookiness of it. It felt like probably the scariest, most thematically survival horror game of all the Resident Evils I've played to date.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It also felt a little bit more like whole than 3 did.
Yeah.
Which I still liked 3 a bit. I know it catches shit for being a little bit shorter than 2, but like, yeah, in a way, like I still got the fun Resident Evil loop that I liked from that game in 3. Yeah. It just happened to be shorter. But I do agree that like, I think 2 as a fully formed entity, regardless of length, just sort of like makes more sense. And I also like, I like Leon, man. Like
Leon's cool.
He's such a like dork in the second one. And I like that a lot.
He's a rookie.
Yes. Yeah.
First day on the job. Little baby boy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, given your list, I suspect that 7 and 4 are like speak to you a little bit more, but even without sort of the, GOTY discussion, like
are those 4, Village and 4?
Yeah, sorry, Village and 4. Are those still the ones that kind of like are hit for you the most?
I would say so. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I know I put Village first because I think it's just doing more with the genre or with the game, I should say. But man, Resident Evil 4 is always going to have a soft spot in my heart just because the first time I played it, it was just such an amazing experience. Yeah. Nice. It's hard for me to go against number 4.
Yeah, fair. It's fair. What else you got?
Mario Wonder.
Yeah, good Mario.
Fun. I have never been one to really love a Mario 2D game, and this one turned me around. It was a great time, and I love that Bowser just wanted to do a sweet rock show, even if he didn't know how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Minute. I really enjoyed Minute.
Yeah.
That was a weird game, but I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Time pressure is something that works well for me in games, I guess. I need something to force me to make decisions, and time does that well for me. Goes into what I'm going to talk about for my first game. And I just loved the exploration of this game. It was a fun puzzle to unwrap. Yeah, really enjoyed Minute. Dave the Diver.
Yeah, sure
Dave
enough.
the Diver got a little crazy at the end for me, but I just loved the loop of just fishing. I just wanted to fish. And the fishing was really fun in that game. But still a good game. Mario Party Jamboree, great Mario Party game.
It is a pretty good one.
Still having a blast with that on the regs with Mallory, and even now her nieces are getting to Mario Party age, and I am overjoyed and also terrified that I'm going to make one of them cry, because they got to learn. They got to learn is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I feel like you need to provide a safe space where you don't steal their shit for a little while.
Yes.
But inevitably the computer's going to come hunting at some point,
The computer's going to come hunting, and I'm going to win the minigames. That's just going to be the way it is. Right?
I'm not going easy on you, kid.
I'm not going easy on you kids. But yeah, Jamboree is great. Little Kitty Big City.
Yeah.
Fun cat simulator. Cute, very cute game. Fun to knock phones out of people and to catch birds and kind of cosplay as my cat. It's a good time.
Sure, yeah.
Hyper Light Drifter. Great from beginning to end.
Yeah, that should probably be on my list too, now that I'm kind of thinking about that.
Your GOTOY? I was surprised it wasn't.
That game was very, very good.
It was really good. Just start to finish, the immaculate vibes, great combat, challenging but fair. Really just nailed everything that you need to nail for a game like that. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, probably one of the games I played the most this year. Very good. Has some flaws, but very good game. What else can be said about Elden Ring at this point?
Yeah.
And then a couple that I'm just going to mention, I'm just going to say their names.
Yeah.
Vampire Survivors, Tinykin, Transistor, Gravity Rush, and Animal Well.
Fuck, Transistor. Oh man. That one maybe should be on my GOTOYs as well. I ended up liking Transistor quite a bit.
Transistor was really good. That last battle, man.
It was really
so
good. Yeah.
good.
I appreciated how short it was too.
How short it was, how they made such a great relationship between the character and her sword. Good game.
Yeah. Damn, we played a lot of video games this year.
I played a lot of really good games this year. I was eating. I was at the buffet and it was all filet mignon.
Let me see. Can I tell you about some honorable mentions for me?
Please.
I think I've sort of touched on a lot of them already. Dragon's Dogma 2, we talked about. Astrobot talked about. Making of Karateka, we talked about. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was very good. I found it very novel and very interesting and like a very cool direction for the Zelda series. And like, I hope that they continue with this series. I just didn't beat it. And so I was like, I should probably like finish it if I want to like come down on it one way or another. Silent Hill 2, the remake, it's still remarkable. Like that video game. I really, really like it and think, you know, the updating it has made it very in line with like a thing that could come out today. Like it is not, I think, the splash that it was when it first came out, right? Like games weren't, I think, taking their narratives quite as seriously as that game did. There were obviously like some that were, but I think it was pretty wild to experience a game then of like, hey, there's like use of like metaphor and imagery and shit in here that like games usually don't engage with.
Yeah.
And so like it's cool to play through that again. And I'm really glad that like probably a lot of people who haven't played Silent Hill 2 will now. But at the end of the day, it is still the game from 2004 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's cool. And I played all the way through it and loved it. But like, I sort of like lean towards newer, more inventive stuff, you know? Let's see. Unicorn Overlord. Love that game. That was very fun.
Cool.
Another one where I was like, I'm probably halfway through it and I should probably beat it if I want to like really come down on it. But like, I loved the way that they automated or sort of updated the auto battler thing. Cause we played a lot of those kind of games this year too.
We did.
Which was really cool. So yeah, loved Unicorn Overlord. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, the remake. It's a very good remake of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Very similar to the Silent Hill 2 thing. Really liked it. It was great.
Does Emily Alice know that's only on your honorable mentions?
We had played through just the regular version, weirdly enough.
Oh, okay.
When we played through it. Because I bought the remake and I was like, hey, like, do you want to kick this around? She's like, no. And then we didn't play through it. So
gotcha. All right.
That was a solo expedition for me.
Cool.
Let's see. Web fishing. Web fishing is a good video game. It's very fun and silly. We talked about it a little bit with the whale thing.
The whale.
And I think I'll close it out with Summer House. Summer House is like a game where you're just kind of thrown into this landscape and it's like build a house. And it's like a 2D sort of deal. It looks kind of like not pixelated, but there's like a pixel style to a lot of the art in it. And like there is no real goal other than like just build something you like. And then that's you can be done whenever you want to.
Cool.
We talked about this on .zip, and essentially the place that conversation led was like how cool it is to play with like physical space in that way. And also made us think about like, where did I go to summer? And like, where did I hang out in summer? And like, where did I go on vacation and stuff? And aren't those places cool, you know?
Cool spots.
So yeah, Summer House, I thought it was really good. I really liked it. And I think those are mostly the new games that I've played this year. It's a good one. A lot of good video games, but there can only be one number one video game, David. So tell me about Metaphor ReFantasia, David.
It's a great game. My number one game is Metaphor ReFantasia. You guessed it, Chase, by process of elimination. this is Baby's first Atlas game, I think is also why this is rating so high for me.
Sure.
Or at least the first Atlas game that's really stuck for me. It's a great formula for a video game. It's entertaining. It's fun. It is emotional. It is heartfelt. It's just thinky enough to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like particularly deep right now, but I enjoy the metaphor of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of these games that just immediately sucked me into its world, sucked me into its characters, and made me care just based off of their setting and their story. It immediately got me. I watched that first cutscene and I was like, I'm 100% here. I need to know what happens to this asshole Louise. I need to know what happens to this world. I need to know what's going on with the dog-eared people who are getting abused on the street. How could you hit a sweet puppy? Come on.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is tapping into my obsession of fantasy worlds as well. Like I know all of the different races and the lores behind them, and I just love all of that, just like how deep you can go. I'm always up in that compendium or whatever they have that just keeps on giving you even deeper dives of information. And not to mention that the combat is great. There's so many different ways that it lets you tackle a situation, and it's just something that, since I don't play as many RPGs, I didn't know you could do with an RPG like this. A turn-based RPG gave you so many interesting choices and ways to attack situations and to solve problems through battle, even not just through, you know, trying to, like in Baldur's Gate 3, talking to someone or sneaking or doing something else like that to get around something, right?
Yeah.
But just the different ways that they use the archetypes, the inherited skills, the synthesis attacks, all of that goes into planning for what you are going to be facing in the next dungeon. And that is deeply satisfying to me to play through. The voice acting is great.
It is.
The music rocks. It is just instantly cool. I love the Gauntlet runners. They are just steampunk Metal Gears,
cool,
which is sweet. That's very cool to me.
I also really like the Gauntlet Runner music. It's so... Whenever I travel somewhere, I'm just like, this is so much fun. I love this.
Yeah, you feel like you are hitting the ground hard with all those bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
It's great. I find it very hard to find anything to complain about this game. The one thing that has not landed with me was slight spoilers for Metaphor Via Fantasio. When you are on the airship, the air runner, and you have to get on your sword and jump across God, dude. That part was not good.
No, it was not good.
That was I died so many times. I'm like, what is going, why? It feels like I'm surfing, but I'm not. It was weird.
I didn't know where they want me to go. I didn't know, like, I read the instructions a couple times because like, I think I'm fucking this up. And then like eventually kind of just got it. And I was like, that was not good.
Yeah, that was not good. That was easy, but it was not easy to understand what they wanted from me.
This cutscene could have been an email, I think is what happened.
This gameplay should have been a cutscene. Yeah, I did not need to play that. It was not that epic. But regardless, even some of the most beautiful faces in the world get a pimple every once in a while. It's fine, baby. It goes away.
It also only lasts like 1 single minute. It's not that big of a deal.
Not even that long. But it's great. I'm loving every moment of it. I'm hoping it sticks the landing because I haven't beaten it yet, but I've put in like near 50 hours, so I feel like I got a good idea of what this game is about. I'd be surprised if it really fucked it up at the end, but I'm curious to see where it goes. And it's one of these stories where I don't know what is going to happen next, and I love that. I don't like something that is formulaic or something that I can predict. This is something different. Yeah. Excellent game. Really great.
It is a very good game. Of course, I talked about it already, but yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think this is probably a great entry point for somebody who maybe hasn't experienced a lot of the Atlas stuff before. Again, it does come with some similar assumptions about how the game is structured, given the sort of like time of it all. But I just think they ground it a little bit more. Like every now and then in an Atlas Persona game, I'm like, wait, is it cool if I go out and like do shit now? Like, is it all right? Yeah. But like, I think when the missions are so clear of like, hey, we have 14 days to go into this dungeon and fix this problem, it's a little bit more clear to me. Whereas like sometimes in Atlas games when I was first starting to learn how to play them, I was like, should I do it early? Like, should I go do the dungeon now? Like, does that benefit me? But learning learning the lesson kind of, and this game does it too, where it's like you'll beat it and then they're like, all right, and now we wait for the date that we had already talked about. It's always kind of nice to experience that that's like still the case. But the first time you walk into it, it's usually like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why? I see the deadline, but what happens if I get there? Or like, what happens if I do it early? I'm not really sure.
Have you ever not gotten to the deadline? Do you just lose the game?
It like kicks you back a little ways, but I don't think I've ever experienced it. I'm way too much of a fucking like anxious person to like to let that happen. Like
my anxiety will not allow this.
Usually my move is like I just try and do it the first day if I can. Like just get it over with. I will say Metaphor, usually I do all the side quests first and then I go do it.
Gotcha.
But in a lot of the other ones, I'm just like I got to get this out of the way so I can like go hang out with my friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gotta go talk to my friends on the Gauntlet Runner.
Some darker arts.
Oh, power of kings.
Heisme is so good. I really like Heisme.
Heisme's great. Heisme's I don't know if I can call him my number one, but I really like Heisme.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Like, I think all of their side stories are all really incredible. Strolls is pretty fucking good. I really like playing through Strolls. Like, I think I finished his whole thing recently. Unless there's like one other mission, but like I got to rank 8. I'm like, are we good? Are we done? Because like this feels resolved now.
I think you should be able to look and see that I think there are more, but I don't know. Because if you like press a button, it tells you what you unlock for each rank.
Yeah.
Did you look at that? You looked at that.
I don't know if I did. Like I filled up the pie. And so I'm like, is there more than this? I don't think so. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it would also be very Atlas of them to have like one more thing that you have to do.
Yeah.
8 is also just such a weird number to leave it on, you know? Yeah. I'm glad this one worked for you. I'm glad this hit.
Me too. It's kind of like my Sekiro moment for FromSoft. This is opening up other Atlas games for me to go back and play, namely Persona games, I guess, and see what's up.
Yeah, I hope you do. And I hope that they hit like this one do. Again, I think that you just have to have one of them work for the rest of them to be accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then you're much more open to like, I get what to do here. You know,
you get the base. Yeah. You understand the base mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Number 1, Metaphor Refantasio.
Metaphor Refantasio. Chase, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is 1,000 Times Resist, David.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the only one I was sure of.
Yes, yeah, absolutely banger of a video game. Unbelievable. It's if you need to hear me talk about it for 5 hours, I can do that over on .zip, or I did that over on .zip with AJ and Kim. 5 hours. It was unbelievable. We largely just went through the plot of the game, which is why it took that long. But still, like we sure did yap about it. This game is unbelievable. I don't even know where to start with it. I know I talked about it on the show, so it's not like going to be a super huge surprise, but like I was so moved by so many different parts of this game. It is like a shockingly effective piece of science fiction that is at moments so high flying and outrageous, but it like never loses the anchor of the human stories that it's telling. Because like I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, but like character sometimes gets lost in that shuffle. Like it sometimes goes by the wayside and like we're just talking about aliens now, baby. And like that's cool, but I love that 1,000 Times Resist is like so out there in the shit that it's doing, but is also so commenting on like what it's like to be a daughter, or what it's like to be a parent, or what it's like to be estranged from your parent or have a bad relationship with them in some way, which is just like, it's shocking that they're able to hit that balance. It seems like so strange of a thing to be able to do, but they did. There is just like a mountain of meaning sitting beneath the surface on this game that like any bit of the game you kind of dig up and you're like, hey, I wonder if they're kind of talking about what it's like to be this, or what this experience speaks to, that there is so much underneath the surface. Like if you want to investigate it, there is meaning there. Sure. It's not like they're just kind of putting it, some imagery there because they thought it looked cool, which I'm sure they did. A lot of the people who worked at Sunset Visitor were like previously performing arts people. And so like they have an influence of like dance and stage productions and shit. And you see that in the way that the game is built and the way that a lot of the like figures are depicted. And so it's like, you see that for sure, but it's, you can just find that they have built everything intentionally. And the story is just like so rich with meaning. Again, it feels like somehow a very personal story, despite being of a high flying science fiction game that features clones as one of the bigger plot points, A
very personal clone story.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So it's just unbelievable. It's for me, I think too, like it's especially poignant in, as we go into 2025, because the game is often chewing on like, what if a movement does not succeed? What then? A lot of the framing, or at least the reference point for a lot of this, is the 2020 Hong Kong protests, and 2019, I should say, and then kind of led into 2020. And there's a lot of discussions in there about like, did that succeed? Did that work? And like, if it didn't work, was that worth it? Like, is there value in that at all? And I think like, as a progressive and like a leftist, the current moment that we find ourselves in is like kind of brutal. Like it's demoralizing and upsetting. And, I fear for a lot of the people in my life, and I'm not looking forward to seeing, climate restrictions being rolled back and shit like that. But yeah, I think some of the commentary in this game addresses a lot of that, and in a way that I find encouraging and not giving into despair in a way. And so it just feels very poignant to come out right now. I think one of the core questions that's at the center of this video game is like, as we're moving into next generations and growing up, and kind of, it doesn't say this specifically, but like my interpretation of it is like, I am in not middle age, but getting closer to that. And so like, how do I decide what to take with me from when I was a kid and what to leave behind? And that is like, what to leave behind is like a big point that they keep returning to in this game. The first question they ask is like, essentially the main character is packing up her bag to go somewhere, and she's talking about this like essentially stuffed animal that she has. It's like a whale, I think. Yeah. And she's like, I'm gonna have to prioritize something else because like you just don't fit in the backpack, And
sorry,
I think that yes, and that metaphor I think runs throughout the game, and at points asks you pretty explicitly like, what do you want to take with you? What do you want to take into the future? And that it doesn't necessarily like, it doesn't baby you with that decision, that there are consequences for the things that you choose there. And I just find that such a strong message of like, rather than a game where you do a protest and it works and you're the fucking hero and you shoot the bad guys, like it's a lot more nuanced of a take of like, what do you as a person want to prioritize, and how do you want to pass the baton to another generation? Or like, what world do you want to build, and what kind of like ethics and morals do you want to build into that world? And how do you do that? Like, how do you show up with that? And it's just incredible. Like that is such an interesting and a nuanced take in a fucking video game, And so I will like, I since beating it have just continually kind of been chewing on it all the time, like some scene will come back to me. I'm like, oh fuck, like what is that about? Or, kind of working through the events of something and realize something way later. And so like, I think I will probably be thinking about this game just for the rest of my life. Like it will always kind of be something that like I return to, a sort of critical piece of my media literacy, Sure. And I really like that. I like that this is one of the things that kind of broke through, and it wouldn't have if it wasn't for the sort of quality that this game and these developers put into this game. It's remarkable. It's an incredible video game. And to close this out, I will actually give you my final gaming moment of the year, David.
Ooh.
And I this comes like probably 2/3 of the way through the game, and I'm not really going to spoil it, but for the people who have played it, there is a section of live action footage in this game. Like it's just a reel of like clips from the real world. Absolute just banger. Fucking barn burner of a moment in this game.
Damn.
I could not believe it. The moment that it happens, it was so moving. And like, I also had like, I can't remember if it was on Can't Let It Go or something like that, I think Matt was talking to Sunset Visitor, and they said like, oh, we didn't know how to like end this part. And so we just kind of guessed with what to do, or like, it wasn't necessarily something that they had pre-planned really far in advance. And I was like, that is crazy, because it feels like without that moment, the game wouldn't be the same in a way. And like, I couldn't believe it. It was the same feeling that I got when I played like Tetris Effect, where it was like, how is this very simple section that is wordless? There is no dialogue. There's nothing that like explicitly is being communicated to me. Why is it making me so emotional? You know, like somehow I think like, you know, to touch on the Tetris Effect thing, it's like that game is just like the music in it and the things that they're depicting in the background is so human in a way that like kind of got to me at a certain point. Yeah. And in the same way, this one, it's the same deal where nothing is being said, but I understand what they're communicating with the footage that they're depicting here, and like walked away from that moment with just such an appreciation for life and living and being given the gift of existence, you know? And it comes after a moment of like real brutality too, of like some really harrowing shit is going on. Yeah. And then they hit you with this, and it's just such a simple reminder of like how wonderful being alive can be in the most minute and simple of ways, without dialogue or, you know, writing or anything going on. It's just moving pictures. And I was like, that's fucking unbelievable. So yeah, 1,000 Times Resist is one of the, it's the best game of my year.
Oh yeah. Love that.
Yeah. It's video games, baby. Which, unless you have any more gaming moments, I think that's it, right?
I have one last gaming moment.
What's your last gaming moment?
It was my favorite gaming moment of the year, Chase.
Oh shit.
By far.
Yeah.
It was gaming with my good friend.
Yeah, shit. True.
Chase.
That's a good
in my
one.
home for a good weekend.
Yeah, that was a good one. We did do that.
It's a great time.
We played for like 8 straight hours.
It was some real Stank Squad stuff right there.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was just an old-fashioned video game hang. Pounding Chicos and eating pizza.
We did eat pizza, didn't we?
You did.
Yeah, that was good. There's something so special about a video game with a friend, you know? It's really good stuff. Plus, it's just like, I always know that whenever you and I are playing games, like there's really no limit to it. Like I feel like with any other friendship, at some point my social anxiety is going to kick in to a point where I'm like, surely we should pause. Surely we should do something, you know? Or like, have we exhausted all the conversations that we're going to have? But like, there is no part of me in any of that day where I was like, should we stop playing video games? No, we should not. We will continue.
Keep going.
Because I would like to play more. And I know that David would also like to play more.
You know me so well.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. That was a good game moment. I agree. I'm amending it to my list, David.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
Do what you want. But top moment. Good times.
Yeah. Totally. I agree. Wow. Another one. Done.
Our 6th time talking about the best games of the year.
Shocking. Such a strange experience. What even to say here? I'm happy to be making this show still. Very cool. Yeah. I love talking about video games. I love the GOTY conversation. It's always very fun to like be like, all right, what actually was the shit that stuck with me this year? Also love hearing where you're at. It's some of these games are jump scares because I forget that you play them in any given year. And then I'm like, oh my God, fucking Inscription. Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah. It's
you never
fun.
know.
So to you, listener, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for getting to this spot in the episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. There's more of you here than there were last year. I think 80% more of you than there were last year.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime I like run that calculation, I'm like, oh, okay, that is a bit intimidating, but thank you. So yeah, thanks for showing up and hanging out and continuing to check in week by week and seeing what's going on. Deeply appreciate you. And as we say every week, we certainly would be talking about video games with each other anyway. Yep. And did for 30 years prior to making this. But thank you for, I suppose, giving us the space to do that, or thank you for holding space for us, everybody.
Ooh, nice.
But yeah, thank you for being a listener. Thank you everybody who for suggested games this year, and those of you who continue to do so. We'll play these fucking games, man. I'm hopeful for 2025. That was a threat. It was a threat and a promise.
Play these games.
I'm gonna play these fucking games. We got so many games on the Steam sale that are in our backlog of games, and like we gonna do it.
The winter sale started today. Should we see if there's any others?
Yeah, I was gonna check to see like is there anything else in there that we missed. But yeah, I'm interested in 2025. Do you have any sort of like big hopes for 2025, or like any games that you're like really looking forward to?
The new Doom, I think that comes out next year.
Oh yeah, sure enough. I forgot
Ages.
that was a thing. Yeah,
I really enjoyed those. I need to play the DLC for Doom Eternal. I think is what I need to do.
It's good. It's fun.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
Yeah,
but yeah, the Doom that's the first one comes to mind. I'm sure there's so many others that I am just not even thinking about right now.
The fucking Yakuza pirate game I'm very interested in. I would like to see if that's good.
Are they on pirate ships in that game?
They are.
Cool.
It's called Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I'm like, yeah, dude, just give me all that shit.
Is it Ichiban?
No, it is Goro Majima, the like sort of anti-hero in the series.
Great.
Very interested in that. I'm really interested to see if Avowed is any good. The like kind of Oblivion-like game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope that's good. It would be so cool to have another game like that.
Oh, Metroid Prime 4?
Yeah, supposedly. So here's the big question mark. Like the Switch 2 has to come out next year.
Yes.
It seems insane for that not to be the case. And like I also know that Nintendo holds so many of their cards close to their chest that like there is probably a significant amount of Switch 2 games that we just simply don't know about yet.
Probably.
That like will probably make quite a splash next year. So I'm really interested kind of how that goes.
I'm ready to buy my $500 Nintendo Switch. Good old
Man,
carrots.
yeah. I wonder if that's going to be the case. It might be 500.
I mean, if he's serious about like 40% tariffs.
I know. Yeah, it could be bad. Yeah.
Could be bad. Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah, I'm interested. I would like to see if that's good. I wonder, like, they had such a high level of polish on the last one that it like felt good, even though it was, the kind of open world thing. And I do wonder if like the saturation of open world stuff is maybe pulling back a little bit.
Yeah.
To the point where like just a really standout version of that kind of game is more palatable to a lot of people.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe that could be interesting.
Maybe.
Supposedly GTA 6 comes out next year.
Supposedly.
I'm so mixed on the Grand Theft Auto.
I know. I did not play GTA 5 to completion.
Yeah.
Didn't stick with me.
Yeah, which is so strange. Like that was the game that I played when I was younger that I was like,
loved 4.
4 was a banger. 4 like may still be pretty good if we tried that again. But it's hard for me to take the sort of pessimism that is built into that world, Like
it's too close to reality nowadays for me.
A little bit, yeah. Like there's not really fun in thinking of like, what if this world was just worse?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, that's true.
Like this, it's not a very fun endeavor. It is the spiritual opposite of Yakuza, in that like Yakuza is kind of a brutal world where 1 or 2 good people make a pretty huge effect, at which like propagates out, whereas GTA is nothing but bad people and you're playing the worst of the worst,
Yeah, true.
And so it just doesn't feel like an escape. It feels like a trial that I have to go through. So I don't know. And unless I like read from people that like, hey, this one's actually pretty good, I might not be super interested.
Yeah. Or Death Stranding 2.
Oh my God. If that comes out, yeah, I'm in, dude. That's a day one kind of deal.
Could be coming out.
Death Stranding 2 was out, or Death Stranding 1 was outrageous, and I couldn't believe it took me as long as it did to play it.
Metal Gear Solid Delta, Fable.
I'm interested in. That feels like a hard one to do now, and like the genre of like
it's gone so far.
Third person kind of RPG shit. I'm like, that is still popular, but like, can you still do fart jokes in a game and have it be good?
Great question. We'll find out.
We'll find out. I think. Yeah, a lot of stuff that I'm excited about. I think the big thing for me is like, when is the Switch 2 coming out, and what do y'all got under wraps? Because like, are we dropping a new Mario? Is that the kind of shit we're getting into immediately, or
been
like
a while since
Odyssey?
Since
yeah,
Odyssey.
I think that was like pretty much a release title, or at least close to it.
It was like 2017.
Yeah, which feels like a long time, but we got Wonder, so it's not like a total Mario-less world, but it feels like it's about time for one of those. But good God, Nintendo, please, brother, like, tell me about this console.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this already.
I feel like people have been saying like, hey, the Switch 2 is coming soon for like 4 years, so
it's been a while.
It seems inevitable now, though. Like, even they are oftentimes like, whenever they do like a direct, they're like, no, we're not going to talk about the Switch 2.
I know they know as well. They're like, stop asking.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, wow. Well, this is coming out prior to Christmas and New Year's, so if you're anybody who celebrates that, we hope you have a really cool rest of the year, really cool, and maybe some moments for rest, maybe some video game time. And hey, if you've made it to this point and you haven't reviewed the show, give us a review. Let us know.
Christmas gift to us.
Christmas gift to us. Thank you so much.
Gift to us. Whatever you celebrate.
Thank you for that. But thank you so much, listeners. And I guess we'll see you on the next one, right?
See you in the next year, 2025.
The 6th year of Podtimism.
Yeah, whoa.
All right. See you later, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage. Online.